The opposition said this is vendetta. The government says, through the BJP, that this punishment is deserved. The decorum of the House is essential to a fully functioning democracy. But let's just set aside all of this rancor, these counter-attacks, accusations. Let's just set it aside for the moment. Let's begin with the basics tonight. Let's ask if Parliament is serving us, and if not, what is that one reason why it isn't? First, why do we elect MPs? We elect them so that as our representatives, MPs can raise issues on our behalf, voice our concerns, your concerns, and ensure that legislation is passed to make our lives, your lives easier, productive, and more meaningful. Have our MPs fulfilled their role in this regard? Now let's examine the facts. Viewers, on this show, the facts speak. The only show in the business where the facts speak, because I want you to get closer to the truth and understand why certain things are happening. The first graphics that we're going to put on the screen, it tells you that the Lok Sabha now sits lesser than it has done in India's independent history. Look at your screens. Between 1952 and 1970, 121 days the Lok Sabha sat and did business. Between 2000 and 2022, the last 22 years, only 68 days. It's a dramatic fall. Dramatic fall, viewers. Number of days the Lok Sabha sits has fallen drastically. Why should this be the case? It is because instead of discussing bills in the House, more and more of them are being referred at the instance of opposition to standing committees. Now, I'm not saying opposition only BJP, only Congress, all opposition at different points in time. In fact, several reports, including one prepared by the National Commission to review the working of the Constitution, have recommended that houses should sit at least 120 days. But as you can see, this has been ignored. Now let's turn to lawmaking, which is another important function performed by MPs. In this, the statistics are even more bleak. In the 8th Lok Sabha, 355 bills were passed. In the 15th Lok Sabha, that number crashed to 192 bills, viewers, 2009 to 2014. Now, that was the most disrupted session. That's why you also saw. But that number hasn't picked up. That number hasn't picked up dramatically, viewers. And there is a problem here. This isn't a shame, as it is a tragedy. More and more bills are falling prey to partisan politics. What about question hour? Let's look at the statistics, the facts. Has this question hour being fully utilized? This hour is that period of 60 minutes when questions are asked of ministers on governance. These questions are supposed to be asked on your behalf. The answer is no. Owing to disruptions, ministers have only answered a minuscule proportion of questions posed to them. Look at the statistics. 16th Lok Sabha, 2014 to 2019, 18% of start questions orally answered, because question hour is routinely disrupted, viewers. Routinely. They run into the well of the House. They throw papers, flash placards. Some of them resort to fisticuffs, intimidate speakers. What happens? House adjourned. Same old story. 15th Lok Sabha, 2009 to 2014, the most disrupted House, only 10% of start questions orally answered. So there can be no counter because of disruptions. Now, viewers, as you can see, the situation is critical. Even your questions are going unanswered because of disruptions. This session, the situation is even more dire. Let's look at question hour this session. July 18th, Lok Sabha, question hour, 0%. Rajya Sabha, 0%. July 19th, Lok Sabha, 0.2%, and Rajya Sabha, 0%. July 20th, they did very well. Lok Sabha, 0.25%, Rajya Sabha, 0%. July 21st, Lok Sabha 0.67%. Wow, what an improvement, viewers. Rajya Sabha 0.83%. Almost doubled its productivity, viewers, by 0.83%. July 22nd, Lok Sabha 0.22% and Rajya Sabha 0.92% is the House of Elders. July 25th, Monday, Lok Sabha 0.33%, Rajya Sabha a big fat 0%, viewers. Clearly something needs to be done to get the houses to function, to serve us. Om Birla, the speaker, has had enough. He feels that rule need to be applied to ensure MPs behave so the parliament can actually serve us. He said this, viewers. Listen to what he said. He said, on the floor of the House, don't misrepresent or misinterpret my kind-heartedness. Placards and slogans outside Parliament. Nation wants the Parliament to function. House can't function amid disruption. Won't allow disruptions to continue. He made this statement last week. Now, viewers, if he applies the rules so that Parliament can actually serve us, does this reek of a dictatorial attitude on his behalf? Let's examine the facts. Whilst the opposition says that they're exercising their democratic rights by raising placards in the well of the House and disrupting houses to force the government to debate on vital issues, what does the Code of Conduct really say? Again, facts. This is the Code of Conduct. 1952 Code of Conduct, MPs cannot interrupt the speech of other MPs. Can you believe it, viewers? This is a Code of Conduct. But here it happens routinely, to our loss. The Code of Conduct 1952 says, maintain silence, no hissing or commentaries. Can you imagine that, viewers? Today, hissing, they shout, they scream, they throw things. 1989, updated Code of Conduct. Can't shout slogans, display placards, tear papers. That's what the Code of Conduct says. 89. No BJP government then. You can't play cassettes, tape recorders inside the House. Rule 374A added in 2001, Speaker allowed to suspend MPs for disruption, disallows MPs coming into the well of the House, disallows persistent and willful abuse of the rules, bars obstruction by shouting slogans and placards. By applying the rules, is the Speaker hindering democracy or is he crushing it? Is he crushing it or is he enabling it? Aren't lawmakers who are elected to oblige by oath to uphold the rules and laws they have helped shape? If so, then why is the opposition blaming the NDA for applying the rules that were passed under other opposition governments in the past? What's going on? Let's ask some questions. Let's open this up. Shadad Poonawala is with us. Dr. Shantanu Sen, MP of the Rajya Sabha, spokesperson of the TMC, is suspended from the House. He's with us. Dr. V. Sivadasan, CPIM MP of the Rajya Sabha, he's with us. Tushar Gupta is with us, senior editor of Swarajya, and Tehseen Poonawala. Let me ask you, Dr. Shantanu Sen, you say that the NDA is murdering democracy. Now, Dr. Sen, murdering democracy by applying laws that were brought in by certain governments that were not BJP governments in the past. And if these laws are being applied in full letter and spirit, brought in by other governments, run by other parties, not the BJP, how can the BJP be singled out or the Speaker be singled out for being an instrument of dictatorship? It's a simple, straightforward question. Don't you think the people deserve better? I've shown you the statistics, sir. You've seen the state that the disruptions have reduced Parliament to. It doesn't even work for what it has been set up for. Should we be enabling this? Or should we be supporting this action and saying, okay, maybe we've crossed the line, maybe we need to go back to the ideal? Doctor.
May I start my answer, please?
Yes, sir, please.
I was listening to your very good words, very good sounds. I was listening to your very good words very minutely and carefully. You were talking about code of conduct. With all humility, I would like to remind you, there is also a rule book so far the code of conduct of parliamentary procedure is concerned. Let me tell you, in that rule book there is one rule, Rule 267, where each and every member has got the right to ask any question on any burning issue. He has got the right to request the chair to suspend all other businesses if there is really any issue of immense importance at that particular point of time. Don't you think there is a duty of the government to run the parliament properly? Don't you believe that the parliamentary floor is always for the oppositions? Had it been during the previous government, don't you think the opposition parties were allowed several times to speak out their mind whenever they wanted to? And now you are talking about few statistics. Now you have to allow me to show you some more statistics which will prove how undemocratic this present government is. How many bills were passed in last 3 years? What percentage of those bills were sent to the select committee and standing committee? How many percentage of bills were got scrutinized in last few years? What is the average time duration per bill this government has spent? How many bills were brought in by the backdoor process like ordinance process? How many 267 questions, 267 notices were entertained? The answer is big zero. Not a single 267 notice has been entertained. It is the court of Arun Jaitley ji and Sushma Swaraj ji. They are not amongst us right now. They have left for their heavenly abodes. They used to say, yeah, constructive criticism and constructive opposition is the part of the parliamentary democracy. What we have seen during the last monsoon session, we were protesting against Pegasus 5 where I was suspended for the whole session. Can you say that the demand for discussion on price hike is illegitimate one? Don't you face the side effects of the exorbitant price hike? Don't you think that each and every member has got the right to have the discussion? Let me tell you, when the farmer bill was discussed, it was not the agriculture minister but it was the defense minister who spoke on farmer bill. Then why now this government is showing a lame excuse that the present finance minister is having COVID? I wish her speedy recovery as a doctor. But when the opposition leaders are telling unanimously, okay, forget about finance minister, her MOS or any other minister, prime minister or even leader of the house is also a minister, Mrs. Goelji, anyone should address this price hike issue.
Okay.
Instead of that, they are bringing some bills which are of less importance.
Okay.
Don't you think they are murdering the democracy? I personally believe this is not Dr. Shantanu Sen, a member has been suspended. The entire parliamentary democracy has been suspended.
Sir,
ruined,
was
spoiled,
the parliamentary
murdered,
democracy suspended? I'm asking you this question, Dr. Sen. No, 1 second. Dr. Sen, was parliamentary democracy or democracy suspended when 3 BJP MLAs were suspended April 2021, Odisha Assembly? 5th July 2021 Maha Assembly, 12 BJP MLAs suspended for 1 year. Why? For abusing, manhandling Speaker in the chair. Speaker ambushed over OBC quota. Then, sir, in 2015, Kerala Assembly, LDF disruptive budget speech. The fallout was SC refuses to quash criminal charges. Desk, mics, everything were flung. Computers were damaged. Lok Sabha 2014, ruckus over Telangana creation. 16 MPs were suspended. Was that also a suspension of democracy, sir? 2005 Lok Sabha, ruckus over Bangladeshi infiltrators. Mamta resigned on same day, but it was rejected. Mamta throws papers on Speaker in protest, cries in house and said illegals put in voter list. Was that suspension of democracy? Simple questions to you, sir. It has happened in the past. When certain speakers have decided enough is enough, I have to impose order. That time you didn't cry.
I am having ready-made answer to your question, my dear.
Sir, go ahead.
I am having ready-made answer to your question, my dear.
Please, sir.
I am not a member of Kerala Assembly or Odisha Assembly, so I don't have any idea about that.
But I can tell you in our West depending on the party that is affected. Okay, fair enough.
Get enough opportunity to speak out.
You have no qualms about what is happening in the state legislature, even though you want to rule the country. The TMC positions itself as tomorrow the alternative to the BJP and wants to be a national alternative to the BJP, but cares nothing for what happens in other assemblies because it doesn't suit your narrative. Perhaps that's what you're trying to say. Look, I'm not being critical here, sir. Please understand. I showed you statistics. There is a crisis. I'm only asking what is the best way to resolve the crisis. Is suspension the best way to resolve the crisis, Mr. Poonawalla? The TMC says no. You are murdering democracy. You're throttling it. The voice of freedom, of the voice of the people in the Lok Sabha is being throttled. Please respond to him. You heard the points he raised.
Democracy is murdered when the High Court has to say it's not rule of law but the law of the ruler in post-poll violence. Democracy is murdered when, I will tell you date-wise, when these people were with the Congress. 2013, 9 MPs suspended. 2010, 7 MPs suspended. 2012, 8 MPs suspended. At that time, this was all good suspension and now it is bad suspension. So this is a suspension of their logic. Now let me come to the fact and the debate actually. Look, Samvidhan, Sansad, Sena ka apman is Congress party ki pehchan. And this entire महंगाई is a bahana. संसद को hostage करवाना and सियासत है चमकाना. Let me tell you why. This is Jairam Ramesh's tweet. You know it costs lakhs and lakhs of rupees per minute to run parliament. Mr. Jairam Ramesh almost taking credit for it. Today the opposition led by Congress got Rajya Sabha adjourned for the day. Is it a badge of honor? And on what issues? Look at their issues. Their issues are that why is the lion angry in the national emblem? Their issues are that why did Mallikarjun Kharge not get an appropriate seat? This is Mr. Jaitley is sitting in the same place Mr. Kharge was sitting. Their issue is that a circular which was issued time and again by Parliament House Security, it was said that there's a dharna ban now. Their issue is that there's a word ban where there was no word ban. It was an expunged words list which you have just spoken about. So their issue is ED is investigating the corrupt people of this country on the basis of court orders. These are their real issues. And today their issue is what? Their issue is again that look, we do not want to allow discussion on price rise. Look, today we have said very clearly we want a discussion on price rise. Last time also there was a discussion on price rise. Who ran away?
No, they were assaulting. The finance minister must come back and answer. He's saying, Dr. Sen is saying that at the height of the agitation on the farm laws, it was the defense minister that responded, not the agricultural minister. So why can't somebody else step in and give a response to the opposition?
I'll answer that question. Now, first of all, tell me that if they were so perturbed of having this discussion, last session also they were saying price rise should be discussed. There was a discussion that was organized. They ran away. Before that, in the last monsoon session, they wanted a discussion on COVID. When we said, let's come discuss COVID and vaccination, they ran away. Let me tell you that they do not want samvad, they want vivad. They don't want conversation, they want confrontation. They don't want discussion, they want disruption. This is because they believe in parivar tantra, not in lok tantra. And I'll give you a last example of it. They say, we don't cooperate with them. I have told them, Har Ghar Tiranga. Is it a political campaign, Rahul? But they have opposed Har Ghar Tiranga. Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Who are we celebrating? We are celebrating all the stalwarts of the freedom movement. Most of them from the Congress party. Have they come together on it? No, they have opposed even that. They have not celebrated even that. So these people, for the sake of opposition, and we are more than happy to have a discussion on price rise, because Mr. Sen should tell us that wasn't the government of West Bengal represented in the GST council meeting. Can he show me a written dissent note that he has put forward in that meeting? Can Rajasthan government show me a written dissent note they have put forward in that meeting? Can Delhi government show a dissent note they put forward in the GST council meeting? And how many lies they have spread on this? Those who gave 10% inflation to this country.
No, so what are you saying? That they're running away from this debate because
they do not really want to.
What are you saying?
I'll tell you, we are saying let's have a discussion, but they are only for television, disruption and obstruction. They do not want a discussion, and because that is because they will get exposed on GST, they get exposed on prices, they get exposed on COVID.
Dr. Sen, let me just quickly bring him in, as well as Dr. V. Sivadasan. Dr. Sen, quick response to Shahzad Poonawalla.
ये तो हमको सुनने में ये लग रहा है कि उल्टा चोर कोतवाल को डांटे, उल्टा चोर कोतवाल को डांटे. वो बोल रहा है you are running away. Your prime minister is so scared he never comes on the floor to answer any question. He never faces any press conference. What are you talking about?
Mr. Sen, point of order. Mr. Sen, point of order. Who's your prime minister?
You are talking about.
Who's your prime minister, Mr. Sen?
You are talking about Parivar.
This is the problem.
Who is Anurag Thakur? Who is Jyotiraditya Scindia?
One second, Mr. Sen, I have a point of order. At the point of order, you have to listen, right? At the point of order, you have to listen, right? That's the rule in Parliament. I have also worked in Parliament.
Can you answer?
With utmost respect,
you are
Honorable
talking
MP.
about Parivar Tantra.
Sir,
and
Mr. MP, I want to ask you a point of order. Sir, there's a point of order.
You are telling
Sir, there's a point of order.
The entire country
will you yield in an honorable way to my point of order? Sir, you said your Prime Minister. Who's your Prime Minister? You don't consider parliament to be yours. You don't consider this government to be yours. This is the approach. Opposition for the sake of opposition. You just said your prime minister. Isn't he our prime minister?
You are telling me
this is the problem. एक व्यक्ति का विरोध करते करते आप लोकतंत्र का विरोध करने लगे.
Now it's my point of order. You have to listen to me.
Did you say your
I have given importance to your point of order. Now it's your time to give me the due importance.
Please go.
You tell me, just now you said Mengai is a bahana.
Yes, for
price rise is a bahana. The entire country is listening to you. Price rise is a bahana. LPG gas 1100 rupees is a bahana. GST on packed food is a bahana. GST on milk is a bahana.
Show me the written dissent note by government of West Bengal on that. Show me the government of West Bengal written dissent note. You are a representative of that government.
Shame on you.
You are the representative of the government of West Bengal. You were represented in the GST Council. You were in the GST Council. Show me a dissent note and please shut me up by showing me the written dissent note in the GST Council.
You are telling price rise is a bahana.
Sir, it is a bahana because it is a bahana for you to take hostage parliament. That is exactly what I am saying. And if price rise was not a bahana, please tell me how much VAT you cut on petrol. When we get 2 times excise duty cut on petrol and diesel, sir, how much VAT was West Bengal government cutting on petrol? Please tell us that. Sir, please tell us the VAT you cut on petrol. Please tell us the VAT you cut on petrol. Please tell us the VAT you cut on petrol. It is a bahana because you don't want to answer questions about Partha Chatterjee.
You see,
it is a bahana because you don't want to cut prices in West Bengal.
Everyone, 1 second, everyone, I'm stepping in. Now this is the problem, viewers. These debates are meant to be had on the floor of the House. Yet today, television channels are becoming substitutes for this. And I only raised a point, viewers, and please go back and check these facts. I'm telling you the facts as the statistics on the government website of Parliament, the Parliament website will show you. Not government, but Parliament website. The Lok Sabha, just this session, question hour, 0 hours the Lok Sabha, 0 hours Rajya Sabha on July 18th. If these are the questions that have to be asked, they have to be asked during question hour. 0 hours. Who's disrupting it? Now I want to bring in Dr. Sivadasan. Dr. Sivadasan, July 18th, 0 hours, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, question hour. July 19th, Lok Sabha, 0.2 hours, Rajya Sabha, 0 hours. July 20th, 21st, you can see the numbers. They're all there on your screens. Not even, sir, not even 1 hour in any of these days has this completed. Question hour. Who's losing out? And if the Speaker applies the laws that some of your own governments, which were populated by the left, have created to ensure that Parliament functions, what is wrong? Were you quashing democracy when you imposed all these laws to be applied? Simple question to you. Sivadasan, doctor.
Here your okay. Here your question. Yeah, very lengthy question you are raising here. So I think I will get the time for the reply to you. So here the government and the leaders of the BJP is saying the opposition is disrupting the house. That the words of the BJP leaders. But same words I am hearing from your side also. But what I am telling to you, the opposition, Dr. Sadhan Sen and myself and all opposition members are inside the parliament. They are raising the democratic rights, and they are requesting the chair, requesting the government to conduct the discussion. The parliament is the center of debates and discussions that everybody knows. So the government is not ready to discuss the main
Sir, can I ask you a question? Dr. Saab, can I ask you a question, please? Dr. Sivadasan, can I ask you a question? And let's go over the rules of the House.
Okay,
Doesn't the 1989 updated code of conduct, sir, please, I'm reading this, deny. If you think that my research is poor, just deny it. Is the 1989 updated code of conduct, does it say this? Can't shout slogans, display placards and tear papers. What are we seeing in the pictures besides you, sir, on your screen? You probably can see Times Now on your screen. Just look. charge packets are being held up, placards are being waved. Now, this is against the code of conduct. Am I right or am I wrong? Just tell me this. 89 code of conduct, does it specify this, yes or no?
Yes, I am. And Rahul, you please check the 267 of the rule book. That you please check. They are very clearly mentioning the suspension of rules. There, what I am reading that page. Any member may, with the consent of the chairman, move that any rule may be suspended in this application to a motion related to the business listed before the council of that day. And if the motion is carried, the rule in question shall be suspended for the time being. This is also the part of the rule book. And
Mr. Poonawalla, respond on the rule book. Respond on the rule book. On that point, respond. Yes, Mr. Poonawalla. Mr. Shahzad Poonawalla, respond.
Even I would like to come into the debate, please.
1 second. 1 second.
Here,
yes.
The protection.
How is
he's flashing the rule book in your face.
Yes, I'm
He's holding it up.
Can the honourable, I think he's a member of parliament from CPI.
Suspended
member. Sir, how is this rule, when it is put to vote, it is put by vote by voice vote, and it has to be accepted by the House? Only then it can go forward. Did you have the mandate of the House? So you don't have the mandate of the House, but you want to implement the rule. This is the problem. And tell me, which rule allows you to stand on the table? Which rules allows you to throw files at the chair? Which rules allows you to hold the marshal by the collar? Please, sir, these rules are also, when they are taken, they are put to vote, and if you have the mandate of the House, you can go ahead and ask for it. But when you don't have the mandate, but to say that because I want this, because I am from a parivar or I belong to a parivar tantra or an ecosystem, I will roughshod the majority of the House and I will bulldoze the majority because I want to make a point. That is not allowed. The House works on consensus and it works on majority. This is the brutal fact of Loktantra. So you have not got the majority. You have not got the consensus.
Okay, let him respond.
You want to hijack
Dr. Sivadasan responding.
You see, the thing is that earlier Sushma Swaraj says, not allowing parliament is also a form of democracy. That the words of Sushma Swaraj. You see, Arun Jaitley, the leader of BJP earlier, he was, Arun Jaitley said,
I know
obstruction of parliament is in the favor of democracy. This is a statement of the BJP leaders. What we are requesting, the democratic discussion inside the parliament. Today, what was happened in the parliament, you know that?
Yes, sir, I know exactly what
parliament member from West Bengal.
Yes, now
let him respond. Let him respond.
He participated in while he was participating in the discussion.
Rahul, please make
the chair and the treasury bench, members of the treasury bench, they tried to disturb him. At that time, all opposition members have supported him, and they requested chair to allow him to speak. There, what was happened? The treasury bench and the respected deputy chairman also trying to stop him to speak. This is undemocratic thing. That is why I quoted the word parliament.
Okay, so you quoted Mr. Jaitley. This is what Mr. Jaitley said. Let me quote him accurately. Shahzad Poonawalla, respond. Parliamentary obstruction is not undemocratic. At times, obstruction in parliament brings greater benefits.
Absolutely.
What was Mr. Jaitley saying then in August 26, 2012, January 30, 2011? Sushma Swaraj said, not allowing parliament to function also a form of democracy. Yes. September 7, 2012. What has changed?
Yes. Mr. Jaitley said that when the Supreme Court had held that there was Gapla in the licenses of 2G and they were not even allowing a discussion on that matter, that's when this was a strategy or a tactic resorted to. And at this time, have we said no for a discussion on price rise? Is there a Supreme Court order on price rise? And what did Mr. Manmohan Singh say? Manmohan Singh ji said that opposition has equal responsibility to run the House. Why don't they quote that statement of Mr. Manmohan Singh? Have they cast him aside into the annals of ignorance? So why aren't you quoting Mr. Manmohan Singh? There was a context to that, Rahul. You know that Mr. Jaitley said that after Supreme Court has ruled on it, we are asking for a discussion on it. The House is not being allowed to discuss it. And today there is openness on the treasury benches that come, let us discuss. But they want to hold the House hostage. And by the way, sir, CPI MP, sir, who takes a call on the suspension? The suspension motion is passed by the majority of the House. You have not been suspended by BJP. You have not been suspended by the central government. The House in its wisdom has taken a decision that your unruly behavior should be punished by suspending you. Are you now contradicting the wisdom of the House? You can contradict wisdom of Supreme Court. You can contradict wisdom of Sena. You can also contradict the wisdom of the House that you are a part of.
Dr. Sivadasan. We also have Dr. Sen with us, and I want to bring in Tehseen Poonawala, Tushar Gupta right after. Yes. Yes.
You see, in the parliament, inside the parliament, BJP has some majority of votes. That's because of that majority of votes, they are not allowing to discuss the issues because they are worried about the discussion on price rise. They are worried about the discussion of Agnipath. They are worried about the discussion on unemployment. Because here unemployment is rising day by day, that we are seeing. The Agnipath, another issue is here, lakhs of jobs are vacant. You see, in military, the recently one government has replied the question, 1,36,000 of jobs are vacant in army. See,
okay.
Another important thing is, you know, I received one answer from the Ministry of Social Justice. Now, single.
Okay, let's open this up. Let's open this up further. Fine. You're saying brute majority is being used to stymie the voice of the opposition. No debates are being conducted because the motion brought to conduct those debates are quashed. Okay, let's open this up. Tushar Gupta and Tehseen Poonawala step in. Tushar Gupta, do you find merit in the argument that is being put forward by Dr. Sen and Dr. Sivadasan? Mr. Gupta.
Rahul, I've been listening patiently for the last 20 odd minutes, so please allow me a couple of minutes.
Yes.
Rahul, I'm a common citizen. I do not represent the BJP. I do not represent the Congress. I won't be as decorated parliamentarian as the other panelists on this debate. But I'm a citizen. I vote because I want a parliament to function. And as much as I like a majority government, I want an intelligent opposition as well, be it with 50 seats, be it with 100 seats, but I want an intelligent opposition. I'm a common citizen. I pay my taxes, which pays the salaries of this parliamentarian. So I want them to come up with ideas. But I'm also exhausted looking at the opposition, be it any party, be it the Congress, be it the TMC largely, out of ideas, intellectually bankrupt. They might want to say that they want to debate issues, they want to debate price rise, they want to debate unemployment. But lots been going on in the last 8 years. On Aadhaar, they were against the government, disregarding the public benefit. On digital payments, Chidambaram said that they will never be adopted by people at large, again dismissing the idea. On Doklam, Rahul Gandhi, who's today sitting on the streets saying we are not being allowed to participate in debates, was meeting Chinese ambassadors while Doklam was going on. Pulwama, the same opposition parties were begging for an evidence from the government on the surgical strikes. Kashmir, Article 370 revocated, 70 years of historical wrong done right. But these parties were more concerned about the Abdullahs, about the entire political bickering around.
What's the point you're
COVID
making?
happened, Rahul. COVID-19 was one day when the parties should have come together. When the parties should have come together. The vaccine process gets decentralized, they want them to centralize. We see toolkits emerging. Agnipath protest to fix the recruitment in the army. The opposition is again not participating in any debates. Farm laws. Congress government was in Punjab when farm laws were introduced. Were not private contractors working with the farmers in Punjab? They were. Wasn't Cotton Corporation of India procuring from the farmers of Punjab?
So you're saying this opposition for opposition's sake? Okay, Tehseen Poonawala, for opposition's sake, the speaker has stepped in and said, look, there is a code, I'm going to exercise it now. And the code was not brought up by the BJP, drawn up by the BJP, it was drawn up by plenty of other governments. Some of them had the Congress pretty much helming them. Go ahead.
Rahul, I'm the last speaker in your esteemed panel, and I seek refuge and protection from you as the speaker. And you give me a couple of minutes to expose the lies of the present union government and its representative sitting in your studio. The present representative of the union government says Rule 267 notice is a vote of the House. He's right on that. But what he does not tell you and does not tell the citizens of India is the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, the Honorable Vice President of India, since 2016 has not accepted one notice, not not accepted one notice from the honorable members of parliament from the opposition to have a discussion on the Rule 267, let aside a voting. So come here with half facts, that's not true. Rahul, I'm a man of data because your TV debates are watched nationally and internationally. Under the UPA government, 71% of the bills went to parliamentary committee, a constitutional provision of the in our scheme of things. Under Modi ji, it's come down to 20%. The average discussion in Lok Sabha has come down to 23 minutes, and I mean, if that does not suit Mr. Modi and the current government, bills that are meant to be discussed in both houses of parliament are passed off as finance bills so that in Rajya Sabha they face no hurdles. The previous speaker spoke about the agriculture bill. That's where I want to end. The Vice President of India and the chair of the Rajya Sabha passed the agriculture bills on a voice vote when opposition members kept asking for a division of vote, a fundamental right of members. He passed it, 700 farmers were martyred. If this is not destroying the democracy, if this is not destroying parliament, what is destroying parliament? I asked this question from the representative of the government.
Mr. Poonawalla wants to respond. Yes, Shehzad Poonawalla to Tehseen Poonawalla. Gets a bit confusing with the Poonawalas, but yes, Shehzad,
this is the problem with spurious arguments and fact-free allegations. Now,
I'm the one for the country.
1 second now, you just said that you wanted protection, but you want to intrude on my rights. This is the problem. This is the Shaheen Bagh mindset. कि अगर मेरे तरीके से ना हो तो मैं सड़क पर बैठ जाऊंगा. I'll take hostage to parliament. I'll just give you a small example. When we used to play cricket as young children, after I used to finish bowling and my time to bat used to come, Tehseen would run away with the bat and the ball. This is what he's doing in parliament also. This is the problem, Rahul. Now let me tell you, these people said, no discussion, no deliberation, revoke the 3 farm laws. When Prime Minister Modi took those laws back, they are saying, no, let's have a discussion before revoking those laws. I mean, what do you want? This is the hypocrisy. In GST Council, they go and they say, no, we will have this kind of provision. And then they come to Parliament and they say, no, you have put taxes on certain things that we didn't want. But they will not show me one dissent note. Tell me the dissent note from Government of Rajasthan in the GST Council. Please, Tehseen, tell me that dissent note. Show me that dissent. Forget that. They will also lie about Prime Minister doing namaskar to the President of India.
Okay.
This is what they've been reduced to.
Look, viewers, let's go back to the facts. Please, everyone, please, let's go back to the facts. Let's go back to the first graphics I played out. Now, viewers, what is disruption costing us? Because Parliament is not sitting or functioning. 1952 to 1970, 121 days. Sittings of Lok Sabha down in the last 22 years to just 68 days. Lawmaking. 8th Lok Sabha 84 to 89, 355 bills passed. 15th Lok Sabha 2009 to 2014, 192 bill passed, albeit it was the most disrupted house. Next, question hour. 16th Lok Sabha, 18% only of start questions orally answered. 15th Lok Sabha 2009 to 2014, 10% of start questions orally answered. Look at the abysmal statistics there, viewers. Question hour this session. Number of hours, Lok Sabha on July 18th, 0. Rajya Sabha, 0. And the statistics continue on your screens. July 25th, Lok Sabha, 0.33%, 0.33 hours. Question hour duration. Rajya Sabha, 0 hours. This is till yesterday, viewers. When this is a situation, something needs to be done. Suspending MPs, is that a solution? Some people would say yes. But the reason we are having this second debate today on this subject, viewers, is because it concerns the well-being of our democracy. If our democracy weakens, cannot do what it is set up to do, which is to give us a voice, we may as well all go home. The choice, viewers, is before us. Do we allow ruckus to become the rule, or do we impose the rules to curb the ruckus? Some people say this is still very light. Yesterday we had a speaker who said, shorten the duration of MPs' tenures in Parliament if they are found to be egregiously violating the rules. Viewers, think about it. We are going to move on to another very big discussion. As I said, India is a democracy where people enjoy freedoms guaranteed by the law. No freedom, I concede, is absolute. But we can express ourselves so long as we don't break the law. We can go to pubs and enjoy a drink or two as long as we don't start in an intoxicated, inebriated way, disrupting others, harassing others. But viewers, some people want to dictate to us. They want to impose their own blinkered moral code on all of us. They want to tell us how we should lead our lives, what choices we make, what we should do with our bodies. Ranveer Singh, a Bollywood star, and some pub goers found this out a few days ago. Acting on complaints of self-styled moral guardians, the Mumbai police has now booked Ranveer Kapoor. This star, Ranveer Singh, this particular Bollywood star, for outraging the modesty of women. What did he do? He posed for a magazine. He posed for a magazine, viewers. He was scantily clad. Now they want to throw him in jail, because they say that this is not in consonance with our culture. In Bengaluru, the police stood helplessly as the Bajrang Dal showed up and evicted a pub to stop the establishment from serving its patrons liquor. They say, oh, the liquor policy, the liquor laws, the license laws were being violated, and we are the custodians of the law, and we will ensure that the law is upheld. Who has given them this right? Let's ask these self-appointed moral guardians. Who are they to decide for us? Fine. If in the pub underage people were being served, they could have gone to the police could have gone there, investigated, taken action. But who are these chaps? And it's not the first time. In 2009, the Fringe jumped into a pub. At that time, the provocation was much less. They couldn't tolerate the fact that a party was going on in that pub. Same pub, viewers. And we are talking about 12 years, 13 years later. Same pub, same place. Mindset hasn't changed. Prudery, viewers, is blinking creativity, blighting it. Let's open this up. Let's get a few views on this. Let me go across to Advocate Akhilesh Chaubey, the complainant in the Ranveer Singh case. Mr. Chaubey, what's the problem? Ranveer ji ne kya galti ki hai? What's he done which has upset you so much? Can you hear me? I think you're on mute, sir.
In the
yeah,
bar.
Go ahead. What has Ranveer done?
You are listening me?
Yes, we can hear you. Advocate Chaubey.
See, the way you have started the debate itself is at a wrong footage. You have compared us with the person who have hooligan as a bar. What we do, we just went to the police station to lodge our complaint. The section 292 of IPC clearly says that if anything obscene is being published, distributed, it comes under that section. What we did, we went there, we lodged our complaint that we feel this is obscene, and one thing which can be obscene for one may not be obscene for others. But the nude picture, the way it is forwarded on the social this handle, the nude pictures, if it is not obscene, then there is nothing obscene in the world.
Kasturi Shankar, would you like to respond to Mr. Chaubey, who says this
Absolutely.
is obscene?
Mr. Chaubey, advocate, I did qualify to be a lawyer, though I do not practice. So with all respect, I would like to say, please, let's stop confusing nudity with obscenity. Nudity is nudity, and it is sanctioned in Indian culture. Our culture is not one of completely covering ourselves up, sir. From time immemorial, we have been a very liberally clothed culture. The whole concept of clothes came in with the Europeans. Before that, we were actually topless people. So can we call Mahatma Gandhi obscene because he chose to stand with the people of India and dress like the people of India? So that is a very, very wrong argument. Sexually explicit behavior
I'm sorry, Ms. Sankar, but if you are comparing Mahatma Gandhi with Ranveer Singh, this is not
No, I just want to bring in Kasturi Shankar, just one second. What distinction are you drawing? One second, Mr. Chaube, Advocate Chaube, 1 second. Let me just come in here. You see, Mahatma Gandhi and one second. Mahatma Gandhi and Ranveer Singh. Can we compare these two? I don't think we can. Ranveer Singh is posing, perhaps, I don't know, for a magazine. Let's not draw that parallel. Let's not, I can understand that you are talking about liberal, no.
It's not
The right to wear what you want to wear.
There is still line about the nudity and obscene. What we have done, we have lodged a complaint. Let the investigation agency investigate it. They will come to a conclusion.
What is investigate? सब खुला है. इसमें investigate करने के लिए क्या बात है? He is nude. Nobody is disagreeing with that. Secondly, he has given the photo shoot for an American publication paper that is speaking into India. He has not given it for a newspaper. He has not given it for a serious pamphlet. He has given it for a magazine that covers people in their glamorous.
Tehseen Poonawalla, how do you respond? Tehseen Poonawalla, how do you respond? Advocate Akhilesh Chaube is saying that there is a law. Let the investigation happen. We believe it's obscene. That's our interpretation of it. Let's see what it comes up with. Tehseen Poonawalla.
Mr. Chaube said that if somebody is nude, then it's obscene. Everyone, I don't know of a single person, Rahul, maybe you can correct me, who was born with clothes, because we are all born nude. So maybe that's the way nature intended for all of us, in Mr. Chaube's words, to be born obscene. But you know, this is getting from the sublime to the ridiculous. You don't like the actor's picture and I don't like it. I don't like his art. Don't watch it. You don't like a news channel, change the channel. You don't like a movie, don't buy the ticket and walk out. Please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me. Have some manners. Please have some manners. You're a lawyer. This is not how you argue in court. This is the people's court. Please don't interrupt me. So don't interrupt me. You don't like it, don't watch it.
I will definitely
don't like it, don't watch it. You don't like those partying, don't party with them. Don't come here and moral police people. We are not here to be moral policed by you. We are a democracy. We are a free republic. We're celebrating 75 years of our independence. We don't need publicity seeking hungry people like you.
No, so let me ask you, Advocate Chaube, are you doing this for publicity? If you are an advocate, you will know. One second, are you doing this for publicity? Madhu Sapre and Milind Soman were acquitted in 2009 in a 14-year-old case. It was filed against them in 1995 for an ad photo. Question to be asked is, did the courts...
I can leave this debate immediately.
No, 1 second.
We have not come here for publicity.
Advocate Chaube, I want to ask you, then you must be aware. You must be aware of the Sapre Madhu Soman precedent.
No. When you are saying that I have come for a cheap publicity, then you are asking for it.
I'm not saying that. I'm asking you, have you come? You can answer and say, no, I haven't. I have a reason, and give that reason. Don't become intolerant here.
How can you ask that question?
Don't become why can't I ask you a question?
I'm explaining my stand.
You can accuse Ranveer Singh of being
a
publicity hound.
Obscene. That's the reason we have lodged a complaint.
So I'm asking you, sir, what is the difference between this and what Madhu Sapre and Milind Soman did in 2009 when they were acquitted in 1995 for an ad photo?
You will recollect.
Same thing.
Yes. You will recollect, at that time also FIR was lodged against them.
But do you know that they were acquitted?
They apologized and
but do you know they were acquitted? The law of the land took a liberal view. Who are you therefore to go out there and lodge complaints saying that...
See, the same thing is happening again. What's wrong in it?
But sir, there is already a court that has ruled and given them relief. They have ruled that this is acceptable. So I am asking you therefore, what are your motivations here?
See, we are not protesting, we are not disturbing Ranveer Singh, we are not doing anything which is illegal.
Okay, let me ask some of our viewers what they believe. Let's also go across to the VHP. Let's go across to the VHP spokesperson, Sriraj Nair. The Bajrang Dal decides, and I'm going to show you these pictures, sir. A pub in Bengaluru, a pub which 12 years later, 13 years later is back in the news for the very same reasons, decides to land up there, evict the pub. Why? because they could not stand people partying inside the pub. They say this is immoral. Mr. Nair, what is immoral about going to a pub?
Well, Rahul, Well, Rahul, let me answer both the questions. First about the Ranveer Singh episode.
No,
now,
just ask her. No, forget about Ranveer Singh, sir. I'm asking you very clearly about the pub issue. Because the VHP has come out and even backed the Bajrang Dal. I'm only speaking on the VHP issue with you.
Rahul, you were listening. Comparing Rahul comparing Ranveer Singh with Mahatma Gandhi.
Sir, I don't believe that. I don't believe that comparison is valid here. I've already said I don't believe that comparison is valid here. Mr. Nair, just talk about the pub issue. I want to ask you, what is wrong with people going to a pub and having a drink in a civilized way? What is wrong with that? It's allowed by the law. That's why we have pubs.
See, Rahul, there is nothing wrong if somebody is going in the civilized way and if the pub, it's a legitimate pub with proper licenses. Now here, I called before I came to your debate. I called our Bangalore people. I rechecked the entire episode. Our Bajrang Dal people, our Bajrang Dal cadres, they have not hit anybody. They were smart cemeterians. They called the police. They were the people who called the police that such and such illegal things are happening here. So we don't know who created the ruckus, but our boys,
I'll play out what they said to these pub goers. Let's play that out. No, sir, it's not. No, I'm sorry. You crossed the line there. You took it upon yourself to morally police them. Let's play out what they said to these pub goers. Let's play that out, Nizam bhai. Let's play that out. In the meantime, I also want to hear from some of our viewers. Let's go across to some of our viewers. Rajendra is calling in from Faridabad. Mr. Rajendra, please go ahead. Make your case on Times Now tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, Rahul. And two simple points. One is that moral policing, no. Let people live their lives where they want to. I don't think it is anybody's business to do any...
Okay, it's nobody's business. I think that's what we've all subscribed to as open Democrats here. Anu calling in from Bengaluru. Yes, go ahead, Miss Anu. Miss Anu, can you hear me? Anup, Mr. Anup, can you hear me? From Bengaluru. Go ahead, sir, with your view. Okay, I don't think he's with us. I want to go straight across, sir, to Mr. Nair. Mr. Nair, listen to this. Listen to this audio track. Listen. Abusing and intimidating, going out there and saying, don't you have anyone to answer to at your home, Mr. Nair? That is not being good Samaritans. That is being bullies and moralizing unethically. Mr. Nair.
Rahul, definitely, as I said, before I came to the debate, I called Bangalore, I called Bajrang Dal.
Sir, you saw the evidence on your screens, Mr. Nair. Do you believe that it is your right, your God-given right, your constitutional right to go and harass and shame other people who are doing a very peaceful thing by going to a bar, having a drink,
Rahul,
living their lives?
Nobody has harassed.
Rahul, may I ask a question?
Nobody has harassed anybody, Rahul. Let me be very clear. But at the same time, there were several complaints from parents itself that their children are going to...
Sir, let the parents complain. Let the parents do their own job. Who are you? Are you their parents? Are you the parents of the parents? Who are you? Are you the moral guardians of this society or not? You are not the moral guardians. Let the parents discipline their children if they think that they're out of line. Tomorrow you will say, I want to get into everyone's bedrooms and examine what they're up to.
It was the Bajrang Dal cadres who called the police.
Sir, you can file a complaint. You can't go to a particular pub and start heckling people and shaming them in public in full glare of the cameras. You can't do that. Many people may not like what the VHP does. Do you want all your cadres to be bullied on the street?
Some less.
It's quite ridiculous.
No,
Mr. Nair?
See, neither we do it. See, first of all, now it's a gathering. Rahul, it's a gathering. Who did what? We are yet to know.
Oh.
I'll
just leave you with these. I'll just leave you with these pictures, viewers, of these cadres of the Bajrang Dal heckling these patrons. What is their right to heckle these patrons? Tomorrow they'll say that your skirt is too high. Tomorrow they'll say that we don't like your jeans. Tomorrow they'll tell the men, cut your hair in this particular way. This is ridiculous. And they'll call the police on you. Someone has to draw the line. And the Karnataka Chief Minister told me today in an interview that he is going to take action. Clearly this is not acceptable. Mr. Chaube, you are a man of the law, you know the precedent, you know the allowance that the courts have given, how they have distinguished between nudity and profanity. Yet you are doing this. This makes your motives also suspect, sir. Sorry to say, I'll leave it at this. viewers.
Congress holds massive protests as the party's interim chief Sonia Gandhi appears before ED in National Herald case. Rahul Gandhi and many Congress MPs were detained by Delhi police and moved to Kingsway police camp. The death toll due to the consumption of spurious liquor in Gujarat's Botat district has gone up to 28 now. Around 30 people are still undergoing treatment at various government hospitals. Allahabad High Court has rejected bail plea of Ashish Mishra, who is a prime accused in Lakhimpur Kheri violence case. Court says if granted bail, there are chances that he may influence the witnesses. A girl student allegedly died by suicide in Tamil Nadu's Cuddalore district. She became the third class 12 student to die in the state over the past 2 weeks.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, a free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
3-4 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಗುವಷ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ ನೆಹರು ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ. ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬಲಗೊಳಿಸಬೇಕು, ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಶಕ್ತಿ ತುಂಬಬೇಕು, ನೈತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಇವತ್ತು ಆಗಬೇಕು. ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಮನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ಸಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರು ದೇಶಾದ್ಯಂತ ನನ್ನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನನ್ನ ಗಂಡನ ಪ್ರಾಣ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ, ನನ್ನ ಮಗನ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಅತ್ತೆಯ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ, ನೆಹರು ಮಾಡಿದ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ದೇಶದ ಜನ ನಮ್ಮ ಋಣ ತೀರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಇವತ್ತು ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ತಿಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ 2 ಹೊತ್ತಿನ ಊಟ ಸಾರ್ಥಕ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. 3-4 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಗುವಷ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ ನೆಹರು ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ. ಈ ಕಿಂಚತ್ತು ತ್ಯಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ತಯಾರಾಗದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ತಿಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅನ್ನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಳು ಬೀಳುತ್ತೆ.
He has openly confessed, he has openly admitted. In fact, taking this cognizance, I think our agencies should book a case, should really book a case against him and also make an enquiry, because he would be knowing who are all the beneficiaries.
and gentlemen, every 5 years, you and I elect our representatives to the Lok Sabha, representatives from the state level, elect representatives to the Rajya Sabha with the hope that our best interests and our problems will be at the heart of every decision made inside the temple of democracy, the Parliament of India. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our elected representatives seem to have forgotten this very purpose. Last week, the monsoon session of Parliament began, and all that we've seen since then is complete chaos and pandemonium. From sloganeering against the Modi government to Congress's Rahul Gandhi leading anti-GST protests at the Gandhi statue outside the Parliament. On day 3 of the session, MPs protested by showcasing packets of buttermilk, curd and milk in the Rajya Sabha against the new GST regime. Protests at the Gandhi statue seem to be the norm now, because yesterday, as a new week began, the agitation continued on one issue or the other. And today it was a new low. Papers were thrown once again at the Rajya Sabha chairman as opposition members of Parliament crossed the Lakshman Rekha of showing their dissent. But enough was enough for the Rajya Sabha chair. When repeated warnings fell on deaf ears, today he suspended 19 opposition members of Parliament. This comes just a day after 4 Congress MPs of the Lok Sabha too were punished and suspended for the whole session of Parliament. The suspension of these 23 MPs in last 48 hours has irked the opposition even further. Listen in to those who call themselves the defenders of democracy.
I think they have suspended us for a week, up to the week. I think what they will do after a week. But we will keep on protesting.
You will continue with the protest?
Till they allow the discussion, we will keep on protesting.
अनडेमोक्रेटिक ना हम लोग तो साधारण जनता के हम लोग बोलना चाह रहे थे, हम लोग को बोलना नहीं दिया है, मगर हम लोग का सस्पेंड किया है। डेमोक्रेसी में तो प्रोटेस्ट करना तो हर अपोजिशन का
extremely unfortunate if we cannot reflect the mood of the nation inside the house. Then why are we public representatives? We get thousands and hundreds of calls saying please raise your voice against the GST and price cess, and that's what we were trying to do.
267 देके ऑफिशियली हम लोग महंगाई में डिस्कशन मांग रहे हैं, और आज जब हम लोग ये मांग किया तो तृणमूल कांग्रेस का जो 7 MP है सबको सस्पेंड कर दिया गया। इससे सबूत होता है कि यह तनाशाही चला रहा है पार्लियामेंट सदन के अंदर नरेंद्र मोदी अमित शाह का बीजेपी पार्टी।
Now here's a little fact check for the opposition. They say it's their right to ask questions, but if that is the case, I want them to answer some of my questions. Here's a look at the productivity of the question hour in both houses. In the last 6 days, neither in the Lok Sabha nor the Rajya Sabha has the question hour proceeded smoothly for the entire duration of that hour. 4 out of the 6 days, the Rajya Sabha saw zero productivity in the question hour. A big fat zero. Similarly, in the Lok Sabha, 4 out of the 6 days that the Lok Sabha has functioned saw less than 30% productivity. Our members of parliament could not spare even 60 minutes to build consensus on finding answers to the questions that affect our lives. And that is why the BJP believes this disruption is only meant to serve their interests and not that of the people. Listen in.
हमने कई बार सदन में भी और सदन के बाहर भी इस बात को रखा है कि सरकार हर विषय पर चर्चा के लिए तैयार है। हम बताना चाहते हैं कैसे बड़े अहम कदम सरकार ने उठाए जिससे भारत में बाकी देशों के निस्बत महंगाई कम रही है। मैं समझता हूं कि विपक्ष भाग रही है चर्चा से, क्योंकि वो समझ गई है कि उनके ऊपर जो जिम्मेदारी थी, जो कर्तव्य था, उसमें वो पूरी तरीके से फेल हुए।
She has also said, I want to hear everybody. Throughout the discussion, I will sit and listen to everybody and reply. एक आध दिन का इंतजार नहीं करते हैं, ठीक है, एक सप्ताह तो बर्बाद कर दिया, अभी हम दूसरे सप्ताह में जा रहे हैं। एक आध दिन में हो जाएगा, इतना भी एश्योरेंस हम दे रहे। और स्पीकर के मुंह के सामने प्ले कार्ड दिखाते हैं, ये तो तरीका है क्या? कभी भी हम भी विपक्ष में थे, आप रिकॉर्ड निकाल के देखिए, हम ऐसे कभी भी, इवन वी वर नॉट गोइंग टुवर्ड्स दैट साइड ऑफ द वेल. So this is unfortunate.
So the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight, opposition using rights logic for ruckus license? That's the question and that's the debate. Hashtag 23 MPs suspended. The debate on the other side.
You're watching the Newshour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining me tonight on the debate, GVL Narasimha Rao, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the BJP, Smita Prakash, Editor ANI, Dr. Kanimori NVN Somu, Member of Parliament in the Rajya Sabha and Spokesperson of the DMK, Sanjay Jha, Author, Kartik Reddy, Spokesperson of the TRS. And my first question goes to Sushmita Dev, Trinamool Congress Member of Parliament in the Rajya Sabha. Sushmita Dev, I want to ask you, you very rightly said that you're the people's representative because you have to raise your voice for the people of this country who you represent. But do you think you're taking it too literally? Because raising your voice is fine. But the fact is, if you raise it so much that no business gets conducted, where are you going to get the answers to people's questions from, number one? And number two, if you have questions, at least show the question hour running, getting some answers which the government is willing to get and give to you for people of this country. But you won't allow the question hour to run. You will stand and create a logjam situation because you want the discussion that you want first, and therefore, it's my way or the highway. Sushmita Dev, is that the right approach?
That's a very long charge sheet, Navika, but let me put it in perspective for you. We have been moving a notice to discuss and debate price rise and GST, which, whether we like it or not, is on the minds of the people and is a big burden on the people of India. We've never seen the kind of price rise. It is unprecedented. And for a government and the chair to believe that anything else is more important is in itself blasphemy and a misrepresentation of the mood of the nation. That's what we believe in. To think that the opposition will sit through a session not raising what is actually burdening the people of the country is far more, it brings me far more indignity to be in that position. Whole of last week and Monday and Tuesday, we've been consistently saying, please let us raise this issue. Let's debate it. A government who said, बहुत हुई महंगाई की मार, अब की बार मोदी सरकार, should come up and debate it. What is the reason that you don't? You want to have question hour, fine. You want to have a 0 hour, fine. But rest of the time in Parliament, what is priority today is how the people of India are feeling. So I feel personally as an MP and as a Member of Parliament from the All India Trinamool Congress, to sit like dummies in the Parliament and keep saying Haji to this government will bring me far more disrepute on the ground amongst the people than being suspended. And I reiterate, there are provisions in the parliamentary procedure which allow for an immediate discussion on issues that are pressing on the nation, and democratic principles and parliamentary procedure actually allows us to move these notices which have been consistently disallowed. And I think I much rather, my conscience is very clear, I much rather talk about the perils of the people than go through the mere motions of being in Parliament and sit quietly and say yes sir to this government. That is not why we are in Parliament. We are in Parliament to reflect the mood of the nation, and let's face it, the common man is in trouble. Look at the price rise of fuels, of LPG gas, and the way the GST has been implemented. This must be discussed in the Parliament on an urgent basis, and there's no reason why the government should not answer the pertinent questions that are on the mind of every citizen.
Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao, who's being obstinate? The opposition or the government, which thinks that 23 members of parliament will be suspended in 2 days and you'll still have the house functioning? Who's being impractical here and who's being non-adjusting in the situation that we see the parliament in? I think you're on mute. We'll try. Okay. Yes, GVL Narasimha Rao. Okay, Smita Prakash, why don't you take that question first? Who's being more obstinate?
Well, I think Navika, I think I don't want to choose one side or the other. It's very unfortunate that both houses of parliament have not transacted any business for days on end, and all we've seen is unruly scenes and suspensions. Well, I get the BJP's point of view, which they have expressed. You heard Piyush Goyal also in that soundbite saying that the finance minister has COVID, and therefore, in a way, they're shortchanged when it comes to debating the issue of price rise, which the opposition is demanding. But I also find it odd that the BJP cannot debate it on account of one cabinet minister being unwell. The BJP has a strong bench strength in both houses of parliament, and they defended their policies in the past very vociferously, whether in parliament or whether outside, and they sound plausible, even when they are on a weak wicket, like say defending the demonetization issue. It was a dud scheme, but till today the BJP defends it on every platform. Now, if we see their past track record, whether it is China or whether it's Pakistan or whether it's on the Rafale deal, they had either the defense minister or the external affairs minister or the home minister. It's a collective responsibility, and the BJP rises at one voice in both houses of parliament. So I'm a bit flummoxed as to why this time the BJP is giving the impression that it's a shrinking violet. The optics are not looking good for the BJP right now. I might just say this because, you know, while we don't like the opposition standing on benches, tearing up paper and getting suspended for holding placards and all, it's very disappointing to see that. But it's equally disappointing to see that the BJP is not putting up a spirited defense. Their spokespersons on TV debates and elsewhere are saying that the opposition state governments have been coming to GST meetings and sitting silently and not raising the issue on GST issue. But when it comes to parliament and when it comes to TV debate, they're saying GST humko maar rahi hai and things. So if they have that proof, then bring that document, or else show video proof how opposition state governments were silent. It just hurts the BJP right now that they are looking like they are on a back wicket right now, or I mean not playing the front foot.
So let me ask you, Mr. Karthik Reddy. Mr. Karthik Reddy, while it is important, and I completely agree that unemployment, I completely agree that the state of the economy, the GST issue and the price rise issue are extremely important issues. But my question again that I come back to is, when you have to find a solution, being obstinate will never find you that solution. Is it a logjam because both sides are seeing this as a demonstration of strength कि भाई अगर जरा सा हमने एडजस्टमेंट कर ली तो हमारी नाक कट जाएगी, you know, we will just lose our self respect or our position of strength. Our position of strength comes from the fact that we will rub the BJP or the ruling party's nose in the mud. Is that the premise on which the opposition is working? Because if that's the situation, today it is the issue of the finance minister not being available and therefore this debate holding up parliament. Tomorrow it will be something else.
Good evening, Navika. Discussing price rise and unemployment should not be a point of pride and vanity. I can hear myself. Pride and vanity. I believe today India is losing its priorities. India is losing its priorities. Today on national television, we are discussing decorum to be maintained in the House, rather than price rise, which is more important, is where we believe the priorities of these countries are lost. Price rise today, and especially GST, is breaking the back of the common people of this country. If anybody believes the economy of this country is healthy and hale, let me tell you what's happening in this country, Navika. Inflation is going through the roof. Credit growth is slow. Demand is dead. Manufacturing is at 60% to capacity. GDP growth has stalled to a screech. Rupee is at an all-time low. Interest rates are going up. Wages are coming down. And unemployment is everywhere. And we on national television are discussing how to maintain a house, the decorum in a house. The priorities of this country is lost, Navika. We should be discussing price rise in the parliament and also on national television. Today, the Honourable Minister was not in the House to discuss the price rise in GST. And I believe there is no minister in the country to control the price rise and GST or control GST. As our representative from ANI said, this is not the first time. I believe this won't be the last time too. Even if there was a minister in the House, there have been a demand from many opposition parties to discuss on the matter of price rise, to discuss on the matter of GST, but somehow, not surprisingly, the governments keep shying away to discuss the price rise issue or the GST, and this is amply clear enough, and who is on a sticky wicket.
Well, so let me ask Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao. Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao, why are you so adamant that only the finance minister, when she comes back after recovering from COVID, will this discussion take place? 6 days, in fact 7 days have been lost. 7 days of business have been lost since the monsoon session of Parliament has begun. Is there no other minister who can respond to the questions? Number one. Number two, there are ministers of state and probably they are well versed in the matters of finance and they can answer these questions, or somebody else. The fact of the matter is, if you want to find a solution, you can find a solution, but if you want to teach discipline ahead of people's concerns on, and let me tell you, these are very real concerns. Price rise is a real concern. So give me numbers of 2012 and give me 2022. Yes. 12 nikal gaya. I think people of this country were upset then. They changed the government, but in 2022 their pockets are still being pinched and they're feeling the pinch. Unemployment is high. Do not give me Rajasthan numbers, because Rajasthan is also part of India and India is facing unemployment as a major issue. The fact that the rupee is reached a certain level that it's never been in is an issue of concern. So Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao, being in government also means answering some of these questions fair and square, not just taking positions and taking a very high position at the pulpit.
Navika, allow me 3 minutes to answer all the questions that you have posed and others have been on the comments others have made. Firstly, the question of GST and the hike in the GST for certain commodities is not a decision made by the government. And all those who are making these claims on this program, whether the TMC, the Congress party or the DMK, they must understand their finance ministers were in the 29th June meeting, the 47th GST Council meeting, where the decisions have been made. And none of the finance ministers from your states, your own party chief finance ministers have not made any kind of comments, have not objected, have not submitted any dissenting notes. So what is this drama all about? Why do you want to convert parliament into drama? Have you questioned your own government? Have you questioned your finance minister? This is the notification that was issued by the government on June 30 after the 29th meeting. It talks about how the exempted food items will now not be excluded from the GST. It mentions even the specific commodities. It mentions buttermilk, lassi. Everything is mentioned. It's a unanimous decision. Where was the Congress finance minister from Rajasthan? And the DMK's finance minister, the erudite foreign educated minister, where is he sleeping? Why doesn't he educate DMK MPs about it? That's one question. That's one part of the answer. The second part of the answer is finance minister, the union finance minister is one minister in the government whose duty is to overall ensure the price management and inflation. And if she is down with COVID, can you not wait for a few days for her to return? Because when debates happen in Parliament, you must understand, when the minister gets up from her seat for even a half a minute, there is a huge pandemonium that comes up. Every member of the House wants the cabinet minister to be present in the House. For every sentence that is spoken, they want her to respond, the minister to respond to each point. So what is the big deal? A few days, can a debate not wait for a few days? Number two. Number three, there are no other issues for members of parliament to raise. This is 0 hour that was approved by the chairman today in Rajya Sabha. And this has several submissions from Trinamool Congress. The number 1 item is from Trinamool Congress, Dr. Shantanu Hussain. The number 2 item approved by the chairman is by the DMK. They would have got 3 minutes to speak on important topics that confront the nation or confront the states where they represent. Don't they think they are important? Sushmita Sen was saying on this program, we have nothing else to say. So you don't need this 3 minutes of time to raise an important issue that confronts the country. Why did you let go of this opportunity? Today in the question hour, Navika question hour continued for 1 full hour today, despite the noises. It continued for 1 full hour on Friday. And on Friday there were questions about employment, and today there were questions about GST. The members could have even used this opportunity to pose any questions that they wanted of the ministers. So this is duplicity number 2. Number 3, yesterday opposition members sought an adjournment motion on the post-COVID complications. On the COVID issue, they moved an adjournment motion. The permission was given by the chairman. The chairman had asked the member to initiate the discussion, but they would not allow. Because that's not important for them. COVID and health of people of country are not important to Trinamool Congress, DMK, TRS and others. And lastly, yesterday and for the last 3 days, from Thursday onwards, we've been debating weapons of mass destruction bill, which actually penalizes all those who are financing terror. They did not allow even a discussion on a matter of great national security. Why did you disturb this? Is national security not an important national issue? Is anyone dictating what you should do, what point you should make in the course of a debate? No. They simply do not want the parliament to function, Navika. It's nothing but a conspiracy by the opposition to not allow, to disrupt democracy in this country. On Friday afternoon, the last point, there was a private member bill and discussion happened for a complete 3 hours because this was a bill moved by a private member, Mr. Manoj Jha. But why would they not allow a bill moved by the government when it concerns the issue of national security? The objective is very clear. They do not want the parliament to function. They want to disrupt democracy. So with such heinous objectives, you cannot have a dialogue with the opposition.
Well, Sushmita Deb, and she's not Sushmita Sen, she's Sushmita Deb. Sushmita Deb, since your name was taken, would you want to rebut GVL Narasimha Rao before I get in Sanjay Jha?
See, all I want to tell you, Navika, let me remind the nation and your viewers, these were exactly the same arguments that the Bharatiya Janata Party mouthpieces gave when the opposition was protesting the farm laws. They would just not listen to the opposition. And where do we get our feedback from? We get our feedback from people. People in our constituencies, people in our states. But they will not have it because their Lord and Master, Mr. Modi, Mr. Prime Minister has told them that this bill has to go through. What happened eventually? After all the ruckus, like many channels are saying, we were proved right. The Prime Minister of India, with due respect to him, he is the Prime Minister of India, he had to retreat and take back those farm laws. Today, when we go to our constituencies and our states, people are saying, why are you not raising the GST issue in the parliament? And I would like to tell my friend, my learned friend GVL, that please don't mislead the viewers on what is the function of the GST Council. It is an advisory body and it is composed in a way where 75% of the members are from the central government and 25% are from the state government. Please do pull out the minutes of the meeting and have a look at what I'm saying, whether it's true or false. And it is simple. It is simple. Please debate the important bills, no issues. But anybody who understands parliamentary affairs knows that along with bills, the chair has the full liberty and discussion to allow any form of discussion on other issues. So do not, Mr. GVL, tell the viewers that we are not debating the bill. If you allow this discussion, it can happen side by side. The bills can be debated and price rise can also be debated. And let me remind you, GVLG, that in the farm laws issues, your defense minister debated it. So I hope Nirmala Sitharaman recovers very soon. I wish her all the very best. But do not give the impression to the viewers that just because the finance minister is indisposed, that this debate cannot happen, because your defense minister chose to debate the farm bills.
Well, so let me also raise this question, Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, Lord and Master the Prime Minister is what Sushmita Deb says about the Prime Minister. And Rahul Gandhi on the streets of Delhi squatting in Vijay Chowk says, Raja Hain, this is a police state. And where does he want to take the issue of GST and Mengai? Out on the streets on a day his mother's being questioned, the Congress president is being questioned by the ED. Why not any other day? Question number one. Number two, Sushmita Deb or TRS or DMK, all these parties are representatives of the people, and therefore they want to raise the issues of the people of India, and that's their right, and that's why they are not allowing Parliament to function till the issue of price rise is debated and discussed. I want to ask you, is the Prime Minister of India a member of the Rajya Sabha? Is he not somebody who's won elections and repeated elections? Is he not a representative of the people, Sanjay Jha? Why is there a tone and tenor that comes out saying Lord and Master, Raja, when the same thing actually is being done by the Congress party, because they want to stall everything, because there is an ED question going on? Because if it was about price rise, there would have been a separate rally, there would have been a separate Rasta Roko, India Bandh or whatever. But it only happens, people come on the streets, and all senior leaders of the Congress party on the day ED questions one of the Gandhis. Is that also a coincidence, Mr. Sanjay Jha?
Well, Navika, before I answer your rather serious question, in lighter vein, since I heard my good friend GVL mispronounce a name of a particular panelist out here, Sushmita, I hope he doesn't address his big boss, Mr. Narendra Modi, as Lalit Modi sometime. He'll have to pay a heavy price for it. Let me address your fundamental question. There is no denying that parliamentary gridlock, if it is happening today, is the responsibility of the government. And I think, the Congress party has been in government for decades. And I do agree that even when the BJP was in the opposition and doing a lot of filibustering, I do feel that the Congress had a bigger role to play. And today, I think the BJP must stand up and take responsibility. I think, as Smita quite correctly articulated, the issue here, Navika, is very straightforward. That if I was in the government, and this is my advice to my good friend GVL, whether he likes it or not is very unsolicited, that if you're in government, you should be actually more keen than the opposition to tell the people of India why there is a price rise. Now, we cannot dispute what is happening in wholesale inflation or consumer price inflation or fuel, imported inflation coming through fuel prices, or the depreciation of the Indian rupee. I agree that Nirmala Sitharaman is unwell, wishing her a very speedy recuperation and hope she's back soon. But is there such a bankruptcy of talent in the BJP that on an issue that is being discussed day in and night out, that the Prime Minister should be actually breathing in and out every minute, there is not a single leader who can accede to such an elementary request to have a chat in Parliament over this? Sushmita is absolutely right. If you really go down to the streets, and we are all very privileged to be sitting on your show, Navika, but when you go down to the streets of Bihar, Odisha, go to, smaller states in the Northeast, people are deeply affected, grievously wounded by the price rise. Now, GVL here went into this whole conversation, apparently, allegedly, but the opposition quietly acquiesced in the rise in GST on curd and atta and rice. If that is the case, then is GVL saying that all the opposition leaders are lying if they're protesting on the GST? Do they really have the minute? Why don't they live record it, put it out in the public domain?
No, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating, Sanjay Jha. How many of these finance ministers came out and tweeted or held a press conference and said that this is what is being proposed and we are against it and we've been overruled because our numbers are lower, we are protesting against it? Not one of them. And please don't tell me they are shy. They are shy people, and they didn't just do it because nobody is shy and everybody is on social media. They could have protested there. So the duplicity is also a fact, Sanjay Jha, as much as the question that you raised, that isn't there another minister who can answer, which is also a valid point that you raise. But let me ask Dr. Kanimori. Dr. Kanimori, I want to ask, is placards, holding placards in front of the chairman of the house, is throwing papers at the chairman of the house, something that's going to enable people to hold a debate on the floor of the house and get answers to the questions that you want to raise, number one. And number two, the question hour itself. Are you saying that the question hour, which was lost for 4 days last week, are irrelevant questions raised there, that you don't want to attend the question hours and raise the people's questions in the question hour? It's also a question that the opposition must answer.
Good evening, Navika. First, I would like to address my friend Mr. Narasimha Rao for his question. Just a small confirmation over here. Our finance minister, who was not a part of the group of ministers which was constituted after the 45th GST meeting, for your most kindest information. The Karnataka Chief Minister was the coordinator of the group, and only states of Bihar, Goa, Kerala, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal were the members of that group. And Tamil Nadu was not a member, and our finance minister has written a letter on June 20th stating that Tamil Nadu government will not accept the proposals of GST levy on food items like rice, curd, buttermilk, jaggery, as it would affect the common people. Similarly, the state government has also given it. So how do this is the explanation given by our finance minister for kind Mr. Narasimha Rao. And you say holding placards or throwing papers are not the resolution for this. Yes, I do accept. But why are the leaders push us to that extent? We have been asking for 267 from 18th of July. That is day one of the session. Why isn't the government taking it up for the discussion? As you say, it's only the finance minister who has to answer. Why not Mr. Narendra Modi ji, who addresses Man Ki Baat to all the people? Why not he come to the floor and address the people? We are also people who's been elected from the government. We are also representing the people. We are not representing something, our household work. We are representing the price hike. Why not the PM comes and answer to us? Why not Mr. Piyush Goyal, who's a good friend of our finance minister, who has given a statement today after all the ruckus, could have answered the questions, or he could have made this announcement on day one. Finance minister is sick. We could take it up. Please give us some time. It's not that we would not take it up. Why let the whole week go about and then come today and give us an announcement? It is just the government which is running now is taking it as a blanket from the opposition to cover up the flaws. Now tell me frankly, Navika, you should have gone through all the bills which is being presented for this monsoon season. What are the bills which we are having which is in the highest priority? Can I see it? Can you see it? We are just discussing Atlantica. I don't say those bills are not required. It is not of any as much as emergency as a price rise of a GST rise of a milk, curd or rice. This is more important than what you people are doing for those bills. Those bills can wait. Price hike of the common people cannot wait. This is what we are trying to tell you guys. Please give us some time. Please take up the discussion on the floor. Get the floor on order. Finish off the discussion so that it moves on. And you have beautifully put up the scenario as how many hours have been wasted in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. The member of the parliament would also be happy to see on Times Now how much of the physical energy of the opposition people has wasted, and we have been pushed to the well. We have been standing from our places and raising voices. Nobody listens to us, and finally we have to land there. How do you think we would bring it out? We are also have to give some accountability and credibility to the people who have been...
Well said, and the ladies on this show have been extremely feisty and they mean business. Smita Prakash, there can be no two ways that price rise and day-to-day lives of people are of importance. Nobody is denying the importance of national security issues. But these day-to-day survival issues are also important. Do you think the opposition is right when it demands a quick discussion on this issue, which is the refrain that's come out from 4 members on this panel?
Yeah, I think there should be a discussion, and I don't think the BJP should fight shy of this. But that having said, I really don't like this placards and this kind of disruption and this waste of energy as the DMK person said. But that having said, I don't think there is any crushing of democracy which is happening. Just this year, 5 BJP MLAs were suspended after they created chaos in the Bengal Assembly. 3 BJP MLAs were suspended in Telangana Assembly also this year. In Maharashtra, 12 BJP MLAs were suspended for a year. So, it's not as if one party or one place they are getting suspended. Democracy seems to be getting crushed month after month in this country. And the other thing which, I think even you ran it right now, everybody quoting this, what Jaitley said, what Sushma Swaraj said. The fact is that whatever Jaitley said, whatever Sushma Swaraj said, it wasn't written in gold. It's not written in the rule book. So that's why, we can't keep going back on that. True. That the BJP did this, so we can do this. This is democracy. No,
absolutely. And Karthik Reddy, that's the point. What happened then? It was wrong. If it was wrong, and there were larger issues of several corruption scams that were happening, but that's not a precedent. There is also a precedent that Vajpayee said. And if you're talking about suspension, it's not a new thing at all. In 2012, Meera Kumar suspended 12 members of parliament. In the Rajiv Gandhi government, 63 members of parliament were suspended. It happens. It happens if you've got business to be conducted. It's happened before. It's happened now. It happens in states. Why such a hullabaloo?
I thought the Modi government was elected to bring in certain changes, Navika. I think they should set an example how to run the house, how to give the opposition certain space to discuss. And let me go back to what Mr. Narasimha Garu has said. Today he was talking about national security. Let me remind the nation, whenever the BJP is pushed to a corner, there is danger to national security. There is nothing else which really troubles national security, but when the BJP is in trouble, the national security is in trouble. And please, let's not shoot from the GST
that's right. Shoulder. National security always comes to your rescue, number 1, and number 2. You have other ministers, you have a good bench strength. Why are you being obstinate? Solutions should be found, not problems to solutions.
Okay. Navika, I think we don't select bills. This is a bill that was introduced in Rajya Sabha, and this was already listed. National security does not come to our rescue. The BJP comes to the rescue. BJP has protected. BJP has ensured zero tolerance against terror. All the cheerleaders of the Congress must understand how national security was compromised when the Congress was in power for 10 years. how every city in the country, including Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Bombay, every city was on the radar on the terror strikes. Certainly BJP has ensured that national security is given topmost priority and there is zero tolerance against terror. And on the issue of price rise, we have everything to showcase. I am waiting for that opportunity to debate this issue. I don't know, where will these parties go and hide their faces? Let them see, is petrol, diesel
then
price,
if you have so many aces up your sleeve, Mr. GVN Narasimha Rao, from the people of India, a heartfelt request goes out to the government that if you have all the answers and if you have nothing to worry and if you can actually put the opposition in its place, what are you waiting for? We're looking forward to that debate and some answers to the questions that people of India have. We hope that debate will happen sooner than later, and we hope the opposition will get together and bring up what is really a robust democracy on the floor of the House in Parliament. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on debate number 1. On the other side, the big debate and the big blue ha-ha over Ranveer Singh. The question we are asking tonight is, have we become a country that gets offended just too soon? Have we Indians become more touchy as the world becomes more progressive? Well, a controversy surrounding Ranveer Singh would make it seem so. The actor's recent magazine photo shoot has triggered a massive storm. Why? Because a man who is in the business of showbiz decided to pose in the nude. And for that, he is now facing an FIR in Mumbai for hurting sentiments of women and insulting their modesty. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the first time that Bollywood actors have been seen bearing it all. From Akshay Kumar to Anil Kapoor to Jackie Shroff to Shakti Kapoor and even Naseeruddin Shah. And perhaps the most famous one etched in our minds is the picture of models Madhu Sapre and Milind Soman hugging each other, bare-bodied with a snake wrapped around them. So why this sudden outrage? Now this may seem a bit too much for many people, including the child rights body, which thinks that this is an assault on the senses of some audiences. They're right from their perspective, possibly, but I'm left wondering, how often do we outrage like this, or how often are cases filed when scantily clad women are seen not just on magazine covers, but also on hoardings and billboards and on social media ever so often? Is that normalized to such an extent that one would not bat an eyelid over women bearing it? That's the question. And let's debate that. And joining me tonight, Suhail Seth, author and columnist, Nisha Rawal, actor, advocate Vedika Chaube, complainant, Inderjeet Langesh, Indian filmmaker and producer-director. My first question to the petitioner, in this case, advocate Vedika Chaube. What's your problem? The man is in showbiz. He wants to bear it all. It's his free will. You don't want to watch it, just don't.
No, clearly I don't want to watch such pictures, such posts that is spread all over the media, all over the Twitter, Instagram, and it is obscene, so it is obscene. I have seen the pictures, I have seen his photos, 5 photos that he has posted through his Twitter handle and Instagram handle, and that is not good for the society. This is what I feel.
But his free will, his choice, Suhail said, that's not important. What is important? Why don't you just block his Twitter handle and his Instagram account? Suhail said that's possible too.
But no, now it's not the matter. It's not the matter of Twitter only.
1 minute, Vedika, the question is asked to me, so let me reply. Vedika has every right to outrage over an assault on her very creatively crafted sensibilities. I have no issues with that. What I'm worried about is that our judicial process is tweaking under the weight of legacy cases. Our police system is under pressure. You have nothing of worthy attention to do Now you will drag this, you will make a mockery of the entire judicial process. You will create issues for this particular person, who, by the way, is also stupid to do this, knowing that there are many Vedikas in our country, and rightly so, who don't like this, expression of visual identity.
Yeah, almost 70% of women are Vedika.
No, Vedika, as I told you, when I need your advice, I will rattle your cage. Let me finish. I'm being very civil with you, Vedika. You're a lawyer. You must allow the other party to speak. You can't keep interrupting. This is not a television program. But when I last checked of that order.
Yes.
So, there are 4 issues here. Number 1, there are many Vedikas in India, and India now needs to be worried about those Vedikas, because Vedika is right. Her name also has a bit of Indian literature and classical history in the name. So she has every right to outrage. But Vedika, we are also a country where Khajuraho is visible for everyone, from tourists to parents to families. So we have no issues with that. Number 3, as Navika Kumar rightly said in her opening remarks, there are many people of both genders, in fact of many genders now, because you can't only talk about men and women, who behave in a very outrageous manner as far as sartorial elegance is concerned. Number 4, Vedika, if someone has done this, you know that that person is from show business. You know that person has never said that he belongs to the missionaries of charity. You know that that person has never said that he is going to reform society through what he wears. He is, for God's sake, Mahatma Gandhi wore a loin cloth, which is not to be confused with what we in Punjab refer to as lion often. He wore a loin cloth. No one had a problem. The King of England said he was, when asked, Mahatma Gandhi said the King of England was wearing enough for both of us. For God's sake, Vedika, you're an accomplished lawyer from when I last checked with Navika. Navika only has very accomplished people on her program. Obviously, there are more serious issues in the country.
Well said. So let me get in Mr. Lankesh. Mr. Lankesh, the last time I checked, there was a similar case that was filed against Madhu Sapre and Milind Soman in 1995. Went on for about 14 years, but in 2009, the two of them were acquitted. 1995, they were acquitted because nobody in the law books could find anything wrong that they had done. And as Suhail Seth has pointed out, we live in a country that talks about Kama Sutra and Khajuraho. Are we doing this just to harass people and associate our names for some amount of maybe publicity?
See, first of all, I would like to say that let's not bring Mahatma Gandhi here into the debate of this kind of a narrative. Please, let's keep Mahatma Gandhi out of this. And another thing is, Madhu Sapre and Milind Soman was not the first who did this. In fact, before that, there was Pratima Bedi who went naked while running on the beach of Bombay. Yeah. And also after that, there was a case on Akshay Kumar, which Twinkle is still facing. So there's a lot of different cases, different issues, but Madhu Sapre and Milind Soman, as far as I know, there was a snake in between. And now there is, of course, Mahatma Gandhi had khadi, but now there is no cloth here when Ranveer comes in the picture. But of course, there are different narratives, what I've heard. A director saying that, liberation of men, why should only the women expose and all that? But I've heard all these narratives. But I feel where should we draw the line here? In fact, recently, there was a lot of narratives about uniform code of dress code when it comes to hijab. There was a big issue, and I had come into a debate when hijab was, in fact, not allowed in schools, and a lot of Muslim minority girls stopped going to schools. It's a disgrace. I felt very sad about it. So now, what are we arguing about? In fact, this man who is not wearing anything, he's done a photo shoot. I think it's for a publicity. I think it's the freedom of expression. Till what extent do you go to? I don't know. I neither want to take sides here or support or not support or whatever. In fact, he's a good actor, he's a fantastic actor, but I don't think he needs this kind of a gimmick of publicity.
But then who are you to decide that? No, but who are you to decide that? It's his free choice.
It's not about decide, it's about freedom of expression.
No, so Nisha Raval, is Ranveer Singh going in the raw to a school? Is he going in the raw to a restaurant? Is he going to a public place? He's sitting, he's done a photo shoot.
It's on a public domain. It's on a public domain, please.
Block him, my friend.
It's not. He's sitting. He's not sitting in his house.
Block him, my friend. Have you seen other women? How come nobody is outraged about women showing their cleavage? How come nobody gets outraged when women clothes are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller? Well, Nisha Raval, is it much ado about nothing?
Yes. Okay, so Navika, what I want to say is that anything that is done in society will always have multiple point of views. I read about two things which kind of touched my heart. One was that women's modesty is being insulted. So I'd like to talk today as a woman. I went and saw Ranveer Singh's Instagram account. I saw that post actually after I was called by Times, and I saw that there were more than 2 million likes on it. If you take the insights of that post, I'm sure more women must be liking that image. So who are we talking about when we have 2 million as proof out there? Firstly. Second thing, I'm a mom and I want to raise my child in a world that's full of love and acceptance, and that's why it was very important for me to be here today. Although this topic for me was more like so important that it's not even important. But it's important because it's my responsibility. And what kind of images are we talking about? I'm an artist. I've been in the industry for more than 21 years. These images have been very aesthetically shot. There is an entire team of professionals that go behind shooting these images. It's not like Ranveer Singh one day just went to the bathroom and clicked some obscene pictures. What are we talking about? It was very aesthetically done. There needs to be appreciation for what he has done, because it's taken a lot. It takes a lot of courage to come out and upload these images, and he's been applauded for his amazing work in the past. There's a lot of effort that goes into such a thing. It's a piece of art, and I feel that it needs to be applauded.
Well said.
In India,
well said, Nisha Jamwal.
We've been sculpting on
Mr.
stones.
Lankesh, Nisha Raval, Mr. Lankesh, I just want to ask you, the fact of the matter is, you've seen paintings in the past, in the nude. Painters have painted many such pictures, and this is a picture, this is a photograph. You haven't seen the man in the raw standing in a public place. This is a picture. Paintings are also in public domain. How come this offends you and not a painting of a woman in the raw?
See, it's not about offending or not offending. It's about what extent to go to freedom of expression. I'm talking about when M.F. Hussain draws a painting of gods naked, of course I objected. When Salman Rushdie wrote about a particular minority caste about his book.
So why are you bringing in gods? There are no gods here. So he'll say, are we once again sidetracking? You know, that's a different case. That is a different context. This is a different context.
I've heard Indrajit
30 seconds, Suhail say.
I've heard Nisha Ramwal. All I'm saying is that Indrajit Lankesh is supposedly a filmmaker.
Nisha Raval, sorry about that. Nisha Raval and Mr. Lankesh. You know, you can't continuously speak because that also is offending.
Indrajit Lankesh is a filmmaker. If and when he makes a film which does not suit the sensibilities of a Navika Kumar, it does not give Navika Kumar the right to take him to court on the grounds that she feels her sensibilities have been violated. A. B. I have a very clinical view. Today, Vedika has filed a case or filed an FIR against this gentleman. We have to figure out, A, are there any statutes of law in India which Ranveer Singh has violated? If there are such statutes and there is a violation, then what, Navika, you and I need to worry about is the evolution of the legal process. Because you cannot have the hypocrisy of society where you have sculptures which predate the Lankeshes and the Vedikas of the world, and then have this hypocritical stance that you take. Because quite honestly, it is his personal Instagram account. He did not place these as advertorials in Times Now, nor is he telling Indrajit.
What, Mr. Lankesh, you don't want to see it, don't see it. You're on a debate to discuss this, but you can't tolerate what he's put out. Well, as they say, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Some find it offensive, outrageous, and some say there's nothing wrong with it. But FIR? registering a case? Is that excessive reaction? And is that tantamount to harassment for something that really is nobody's concern? It's a question many people are asking. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on the Newshour tonight. Good night. Take care.
The Newshour at 9. Stay tuned.
The fact of the matter is, whether it is imported inflation, whether it is tinkering of GST for a longer period, the fact is that the burden is on the common man. And the common man, frankly, doesn't really care about what's happening in the United States or the UK or Russia or Ukraine. They're worried about their day-to-day living and per capita incomes where they are in India. The pressure is as much, magnified on common people in this country than they are abroad. And of course, you have social security systems which exist abroad, which don't exist in India. So I come back to asking you the same question. Is the government really being rather hard-hearted when it looks at these issues? After all, running a country of the kind that India is, with poor middle classes, lower middle classes forming the bulk of the population, do you think the government is doing enough, to cushion the impact on these classes of people?
So let me say that as a policymaker, one has to make various trade-offs. So first of all, let me be clear that the government is fully cognizant of the spike in inflation. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen the measures we have taken, including the Reserve Bank tightening monetary policy. So clearly, the tightening of monetary policy is one response to bringing down inflation. But do remember that this is a trade-off, because if you do tighten monetary policy too fast, too quickly, yes, it will bring down inflation, but then it will slow down growth, it will slow down incomes, and so on and so forth. So there is a balancing act that has to be done. Ultimately, what do we want to do? We want to increase as far as possible the trajectory of welfare and real incomes. And in that context, we have to trade off between growth and inflation. So the trade-off that we...
You're watching the Newshour at 9. You were watching the Newshour at 9. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Good evening and welcome. You are watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. It's a case of a black diary and 41 pages with details and data of names and transactions against those names. Who got how much money and when. And all of this is noted in a black diary. And it's not just any diary. The seizure memo of the searches conducted at the house of Arpita Mukherjee describes a black diary where jottings have been made on pages 1 through 41. This diary, which was found at the house of Arpita Mukherjee, actually belonged to the Department of Higher Education and School Education, Government of West Bengal. Remember that during the raids on Arpita's apartment, some of the cash, the 21 crores that was found, 5 lakhs from that was in an envelope. This envelope also belonged to the Government of West Bengal's Department of Education. And why is this important? Because this is the portfolio, the education portfolio that Partha Chatterjee held at the time of the recruitment scam. The question is, how did Arpita Mukherjee, who the TMC says is no way connected to the government or the party, get in her house an envelope which belongs to the government of West Bengal, a diary that belongs to the government of West Bengal? So far, the TMC has kept its distance from the entire affair. But now, things seem to be getting too close for comfort. The opposition has turned on the heat. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary today wrote a letter seeking the sacking, if not the expulsion, of Partha Chatterjee from the ministry of the government of West Bengal. The question they're asking is, what exactly is the relationship between the TMC and the TET scam? How can there be a distance between the two, between the government and its minister, between the party and Partha, when the accused can be seen sharing frames and a stage with the senior-most leadership of the party, and most importantly, of Arpita Mukherjee, the diary, the envelope, the proceeds of the crime, all of them form one circle. From Arpita Mukherjee to Partha Chatterjee, to the Trinamool Congress, to the department that was occupied and is still occupied by the minister. Is Partha Gate now getting too close for comfort for the Trinamool Congress?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us on the debate, Sanju Verma, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Tausif Ahmed, Advocate. And my first question is to you, Dr. Shashi Panja, Minister in charge, Department of Women and Child Development and Social Welfare and National Spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. How can an independent person, Dr. Panja, not connected to the Trinamool Congress, definitely not connected to the government of West Bengal, have in her possession this diary? This diary which bears on it the marking of the Department of Education, Government of West Bengal. Here is the memo. It says, Black Diary of Department of Higher Education and School Education, Government of West Bengal, having written pages number 1 to 40. How did Arpita Mukherjee get this diary?
Good evening, Padmajaji. Good evening to the others.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, that is a very difficult question to answer. I mean, I don't think I'm unfit to answer that. Our party is also unfit to answer that, and for which we really want a speedy, speedy investigation to be conducted. We want the interrogation and all that is happening. Since we are not present during the interrogation, it's really difficult to understand which diary, which envelope, etc. So whatever is coming out is from ED sources and leaks to the media. And depending on that, we are having discussions. Let the process of investigation not be influenced by any kind of discussions beyond the investigation on television or media, because it should not be like a mudslinging match or a
But
media
ma'am, if I may, this is in black and white. As you would know, being a minister, whenever there is any kind of search by an agency, there is a panchnama. If somebody comes to my house, the police say, I've taken 5 of your phones, this is the panchnama, I'm writing down what I have picked up. And this is then a matter of record. It is submitted before court. The Panchnama says, and I repeat again, Black Diary of Department of Higher Education and School Education, Government of West Bengal. You say Arpita Mukherjee has got nothing to do with the government of West Bengal, but Arpita Mukherjee has in her house a diary of the government of West Bengal. How is a civilian getting a diary of the government of West Bengal?
Diary of, in fact, West Bengal government doesn't have any diaries to say that this is a diary which belongs to the West Bengal government. But the only thing I can think of is, because I also look after a department, that when we have New Year's or, pujas or Bengali New Year, we come out with diaries from the department holding pictures. I don't know what kind of diary this is. That is very difficult to say. Let's wait for the investigation to happen, because as of now we know two things very clearly. No charge sheet yet, no prosecution yet.
Okay, so let's take this one by one. This could have well been a puja gift, Sanju Verma, this diary.
Padmaja, anybody with even an iota of common sense knows that Arpita Mukherjee, Partha Chatterjee and the entire TMC dispensation has been completely hand in glove, and I will tell you how, and I will support my argument with facts, and I don't want to be interrupted. I did not interrupt the other panelists. It was in November 2021 that a single bench led by Justice Abhijit Gangopadhyay said that the CBI should take over the SSC scam case in Bengal, and Partha Chatterjee, supported by the TMC establishment of Mamata Banerjee, pleaded with folded hands, please do not give this to the CBI. Then the entire case went to a division bench of the Kolkata High Court in as recently as May 2022, Padmaja. The division bench led by Justice Harish Tandon, he actually, some of the castigating remarks which he made, he used the terms in his judgment before saying that no, it is the CBI which needs to solve this case and probe this case. His corruption in the highest places, mana fide intent, criminal intent, these are just some of the phrases used by Justice Harish Tandon, completely castigating the TMC dispensation of Mamata Banerjee and saying that you're playing with the lives of young teachers and more importantly with the quality of education and young children. And I will just finish, please indulge me for 20 seconds. Then you know what happened? Then Partha Chatterjee, encouraged by Mamata Banerjee, went to another bench of the Kolkata High Court led by Justice Raja Shekhar Mamta. And Justice Raja Shekhar Mamta also said the CBI needs to probe the scam into the recruitment where young children and their education.
No, that is fine. The court records we know. Dr. Shashi Panja today is saying Partha Chatterjee will prove his innocence in the investigation. Arpita Mukherjee, we do not know. How are you making the connection? They are saying let them defend themselves.
Padmaja Joshi, Sanju Verma is not making the connect. Anybody with an iota of common sense knows that if the Enforcement Directorate has submitted prima facie proof, if 3 separate judgments by the Kolkata High Court in less than 9 months have said that the CBI needs to probe this because clearly there is conflict of interest and corruption in highest places. Are you telling me that the Kolkata High Court in its judgment castigating the Mamata Banerjee dispensation is something that the BJP should completely dismiss? Are you doubting the bona fides of the Kolkata High Court judgment in this case, Padmaja?
Okay, Dr. Shashi Panja, you spoke of this diary being something that you can't really put too much trust in. Let me actually draw your attention to another piece of stationery that was found, and this is definitely not something that is distributed during puja or otherwise. This is an envelope. It says on India Government Service, and niche it says Minister in Charge, Department of Higher Education, Parliamentary Affairs, Government of West Bengal. This envelope, and you would know Manila envelopes, again, are given to very select people. I cannot walk into a government office and pick up a Manila envelope, and 5 lakh rupees among the 21 crore rupees were found in such Manila envelopes, again, in the house of Arpita Mukherjee. How is this lady, who has got nothing to do with the government of West Bengal, seemingly running a Sarkari office in her house?
Padmaja ji, make no mistake, I am not here to defend anything, any kind of corruption, but let it be proven. And since you and me, we don't have the minimum amount of common sense, as per Sanju Verma ji. So, you know, since we lack the common sense, I will just go by the law of the land, and I will just say that allow the autonomy to the CBI and
But ma'am, just a second. You would agree that if the investigation is taking place,
Parthol Chatterjee has appeared, the Honorable Minister had appeared before the CBI whenever he was called for.
Ma'am, if the investigation takes place in a department that the accused who is in jail right now still heads. Parthol Chatterjee is accused.
Parthol Chatterjee is not the minister.
Okay, he doesn't head it right now, but he's still in the government. He is still in the government and he's the number 2 in your government. His portfolio is changed. Yes, I can see.
Absolutely.
But he is still in the government, ma'am.
There's no number 2. There's
he
no
is still in the government.
There is only
how can there be an impartial investigation when he is still part of a government whose department is accused of corruption?
Do not make definitions which anybody is not sure of.
Okay, before you...
Just Padmaja ji, I want to say, please...
Okay, let Dr. Panja make a point and I'm coming back to you, Sanju Verma. Yes, Dr. Panja.
Because BJP does not have any moral ground or in fact any morality to speak on issues related to recruitment or issues related to corruption.
Ma'am, I would request let us not go off track because then we'll get into an endless cycle of whataboutery. Dr. Panja, I will again try and draw you back to the central point. My central point is very simple. You said, ma'am, humor me for 30 seconds. Humor me for 30 seconds. For a specific question. For the last 4 days, ma'am, we have been hearing that we are not sacking Partha Chatterjee because
we have not said anything. Excuse me. Let me. All India Trinamool Congress on 22nd of July had a press conference. Nobody does. Not even the other political party. They don't go for such press conferences because they defend the corrupt. Okay, so we very clearly said, if when proven, you just wait for the next course of action, the party will take.
But isn't it proven? Isn't it proven that Partha Chatterjee is involved in corruption where Arpita Mukherjee is also a partner?
Is conducting the investigation. You and me or BJP is not going to prove that.
Ma'am, how can you say that there is a distance between Arpita Mukherjee and your party when these documents prove otherwise? How can you distance yourself when these documents show otherwise?
Have a faith on ED and CBI at least.
We have faith in ED and CBI.
Have faith.
But how can Partha Chatterjee be distanced from this scam?
No, precisely so. We don't know the lady. Now you cannot force me to say that we know the lady. The lady is not a TMC member.
You do not know the lady, but the lady clearly knows your minister and your government very well because she seems to be walking in and out of your departments.
Padmaja ji, you have many friends. That doesn't mean they are known to your channel.
Ma'am, I have many friends, but I do not have their diaries with notings of who is getting how much money.
There is no diary which belongs to the West Bengal government.
But there is
calendars, there are diaries which we usually make. These are like courtesy gifts and all that. This is all over the West Bengal. Anybody can claim. You tell me, I will send it across to you.
Are envelopes also given as gifts? Are envelopes also given as gifts? Envelopes which carry cash?
Padmaja ji, I am not defending the corruption or the malpractice. I am just discussing technically that this is what we get technically and let the investigation be on. There is yet no charge sheet and no prosecution.
Okay, Sanju Verma, make your point. Yes, make your point.
No, Padmaja, this is not fair because she spoke for a good 5 minutes and she's been repeating the same points ad nauseum. I need at least 2 minutes uninterruptedly because I don't want to be interrupted when I'm making a pertinent point. And the pertinent point is this. Whether Partha Chatterjee is number 1, number 2 or number 3 is not important. Whether Partha Chatterjee knows Arpita Mukherjee, yes. Does Mamata Banerjee know Arpita Mukherjee? Yes. Because as recently as April, there was a Durga Puja committee function where Mamata Banerjee said in Bangla, Apni Odisha kam karchin. You've been working in Odisha. Oh, bhalo kajgulo karte thako. Keep up the good work. Now let me come to the most important point. Partha Chatterjee was the Minister of Education when this scam broke out. So did the TMC remove him from the education portfolio? Yes, so far so good. But look at the audacity of Mamata Banerjee. She says today If somebody is corrupt, let justice take its course, let law take its course. I want to ask you, Mamata Banerjee, you removed Partha Chatterjee from the Education Ministry, but you gave him the Commerce Ministry, you gave him the Information Technology Ministry, you gave him the Transport Ministry, you gave him the Industries Ministry. So you actually rewarded and incentivized corruption by giving Partha Chatterjee even more important portfolios than he previously had once the scam broke out. And I will just finish by saying one thing, because the earlier panelist spoke went on and on and on. Be it Sarada, be it Narada, be it Rose Valley scam, be it coal scam, we have scams running into lakhs and thousands of crores. Mamata Banerjee has institutionalized corruption, because this is Padmaja, not about Partha Chatterjee.
I suggest we don't go down that road, because when it comes to scams, nobody can play holier than thou. Somebody who was on the Narda tape is now heading your party in West Bengal. So let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that, ma'am. Let me bring in Tausif Khan as well, because we start talking about Sharda, Narda, we'll talk about Dilip Ghosh, we will talk about Subhendu Adhikari. So let's not go down that road. It's an endless vicious circle. Let me get in Tausif Ahmed as well. Tausif Ahmed, again, we said that diary does not belong to the government of West Bengal. The envelope doesn't belong to the government of West Bengal. You would be interested to know that here is the arrest memo of Partha Chatterjee himself. In the arrest memo, there is a column which says name of relative friend whom the person taken in custody intends to inform. And the name that Partha Chatterjee put down is Miss Mamata Banerjee, Honorable Chief Minister, West Bengal. You have pictures here of Arpita Mukherjee, Partha Chatterjee, Mamata Banerjee all sharing a stage. You've got Arpita Mukherjee sitting on the Martyrs' Day event of the TMC as recently as 1 week ago. How can you still say there is a distance between the two?
People love Mamata Banerjee. What is wrong in that? And it is more expected from a party minister, party leader who has been working with Mamata Banerjee for such a long time. If he has put a name of Mamata Banerjee, what is wrong in that? Why is anyone jealous? Why is Modi ji jealous or Amit Shah is jealous that nobody loves them as just like people of Bengal love Mamata Banerjee?
Well, sir,
this
when
does
you
not
are
establish
arrested, you
that there
don't
is a
call
link
people you love.
between the
You
money
call people closest to you who you think will bail you out.
crime.
This is not about that, you are feeling lonely and you're calling up people you love. You've just been arrested. It's an arrest memo, not a Valentine's Day card.
That may be your perception. No, this rubbish. This is rubbish. What you are saying is rubbish. And Valentine's Day...
Sir, this is an arrest memo.
Is for something else.
It's not a Friendship's Day card.
Partha Chatterjee. No.
This is about an arrest memo.
I understand. You see, if you come up with the name of Mamata Banerjee in arrest memo and try to link that the money has got something to do with Mamata Banerjee, then it's the most weakest argument that you have come up with.
This is not the only argument, but the question is, how can you claim to show direct connect? Arpita Mukherjee, where the cash is found, then you have Partha Chatterjee, whose envelopes are with Arpita Mukherjee, and then there is Mamata Banerjee. And then there are pictures where all three of them are on stage. And this, in fact, is the interaction from just a while ago, which Sanju Verma was speaking of. Let's just play that out for a second. Just to give context to our viewers, this was the stage that was shared.
Padmaja,
and here is what the Chief Minister's interaction was. Let's just play that out for a second. And then you respond. Tausif Ahmed. Yes.
আমি অর্পিতা উড়িষ্যায় সিনেমা করো তুমি শুনলাম উড়িষ্যায় কাজ করো আচ্ছা ভালো করে করো উড়িষ্যা করতে উড়িয়া বলতে পারো ভালো করে কেমতি আছন্তি এই সমস্ত ভালোই চলো সুতরাং উড়িষ্যায়ও কাজ করে বাংলারই মেয়ে পার্থ চট্টোপাধ্যায় তো আমি আগেই বলেছি ঋতুপর্ণা আমি আগেরবারও দেখেছি ও এসেছিল এখানে ও ববিদের ওখানেও যায়
So answer this, Tausif Ahmed. How can there be a distance when clearly there is interaction?
This is how Mamata Banerjee engages. If you have a guest on the stage, it is only expected from a very from a leader like Mamata Banerjee that she will take their name and she will introduce her, or she will have a little bit of interaction. That proves nothing. Thankfully, you are not heading the investigation, neither are you the judge of the court. Law is very simple. Money is recovered from person X. Oh, it is only person X who is answerable about the source of the money.
But person X is saying that person Y, who continues to be a minister, is the one who gave me the money. In fact, today, Arpita Mukherjee has told the investigators, just a second, Sanju Verma, the investigators have been told by Arpita Mukherjee that there is only one person who ensured who gets access to the room with the cash, and that is Partha Chatterjee. She says there is one room, all the cash was kept there. Partha Chatterjee decided who's going to drop off the cash. Partha Chatterjee used to keep the ledger, and Partha Chatterjee used to choose the people and the amount of money that is deposited or withdrawn. This is what Arpita Mukherjee has said. Now, what do you say about person X talking about person Y, who's still a minister in the government? Tausif Ahmed.
Arpita Mukherjee herself said when she was being taken in court on camera that she has nothing to do with the party.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what you are saying. If whatever record you're talking about has to be before the court, court will take into appreciation whether these evidence are reliable or not, and will pass an order.
It is at best hearsay, Sanju Verma, not in a charge sheet. At best hearsay or media leaks, Sanju Verma.
No shielding any corrupt.
Now may I please, I don't want to be interrupted.
Yes, go on.
Let him speak. If he's not done, let him continue. Is he done? I'm being very, very clear that forget Arpita Mukherjee, who's one of the accused. Forget Partha Chatterjee, who's one of the accused. But there is the R.K. Bagh committee. R.K. Bagh is a retired judge of the Kolkata High Court. He said Partha Chatterjee, the TMC and Mamata Banerjee government is to be blamed. The CBI is saying that prima facie there's enough evidence to showcase institutional corruption in higher education, primary education, secondary education. CBI is wrong. R.K. Bagh committee is wrong. Enforcement Directorate is wrong. Even Kolkata High Court is wrong. On 3 occasions, Kolkata High Court has condemned the corruption in high places, is the term used by Kolkata High Court. So basically, it is your way or the highway. That is the logic you're giving. I want to ask you one thing. Why has Partha Chatterjee not been sacked when the scam broke out in the education department? Why was he given the portfolio of commerce, portfolio of industry, portfolio of transport, portfolio of information technology? You are basically giving more portfolios to a corrupt guy, and you're institutionalizing the entire corrupt setup. And I'll tell you one more thing.
Padmaja ji.
Okay, please let Dr. Panja respond, because you said you made many charges. Let Dr. Panja respond. That's only fair.
This is precisely the malicious campaign which is being run by the BJP. Precisely this. They have to just shut in because they have no organization in Bengal, no leadership in Bengal. They don't have a Mamata in Bengal. Now let me tell you the photographs. You, Padmaja ji, be very clear. We are public representatives. I am an MLA. When I go to inaugurate a puja, we have 1,001 people standing on the stage. And if you can follow the Bengali, try to understand. She said, are you an actress in Odisha film? Don't pretend, Sanju Verma, as if you cannot understand or read English. Whether you are an actress, and she was saying, do good work. It's just like a blessing. You see, those who do not go on stages, the BJP doesn't go in front of the people. We go all the time. We are surrounded by people.
Ma'am, let me also, since you have quoted from that interaction, let me actually quote back to you the full interaction. This wasn't any chance meeting between the two. The Chief Minister actually says, and I quote, Arpita, I have heard you are an actress in Odisha. You work in Odisha. Very good. Do your work well. Can you speak in Odia? She is Bengal's girl and she works in Odisha. I have seen her earlier as well. I have seen her visit Partha and Bobby, which is Firhad Hakim. The CM says, I have seen her visit Partha and Bobby earlier. So that is also a part of the interaction.
Those are the puja committees that she has visited. Many celebrities visit to inaugurate Pujo. So she was there as a celebrity, not as a TMC member.
Okay, anyhow, the idea is only to put out all the evidence in the public domain. Mind you, in addition to Partha Chatterjee and Arpita Mukherjee, tomorrow now you also have the questioning of Manik Bhattacharya, who is an MLA of the Trinamool Congress and is the former chief of the Bengal Primary Education Board, which is going to take place. How much can this distance be maintained? We'll be keeping a close eye and the latest details of the investigation right here on Times Now. Thank you very much, both ladies and Tausif Ahmed, for joining me. Well, it was a nude photo shoot for a magazine by Ranveer Singh, and now we are here on national TV debating about whether it is offensive to our culture, to our sensibilities. It would have been okay at the point of a debate, but the thing is, now there is a complaint that has been filed against the actor. The case has been registered. Two separate complaints, in fact, were filed in Chembur, one by an NGO and the other by a lady lawyer. The allegation is that the actor has hurt the sentiments of women and insulted their modesty.
कला के नाम पर जिस तरह से वो नग्नता को समाज के सामने प्रस्तुत कर रहे थे, और चूंकि उनकी फिल्में बच्चों में ज्यादा उनकी फिल्मों का क्रेज है, बच्चों के हाथ में आज एजुकेशन के लिए मोबाइल हर बच्चे के हाथ में है, इसके कारण इसका बच्चों पर और हमारे समाज पर बहुत बुरा प्रभाव पड़ता।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us now on the debate, we have Dilip Cherian, founder of Perfect Relations, Pratibha Prahlad, renowned artist and socio-political activist, Sherlyn Chopra, actor, and Naveen Chomar, lawyer. I waited all day to ask somebody this, Sherlyn Chopra, how exactly is Ranveer Singh doing a photo shoot with his own body hurting the sentiments of women?
Bring to your notice that a few years ago I had done a similar bold shoot in Los Angeles for an iconic adult magazine, and when I returned to India I was welcomed with brickbats. I was called all sorts of names by the media and by people in Bollywood, and today I see that the same people are praising Ranveer Singh's work. They're calling it artistic, creative, etc., etc. So my question to them is, वो करे तो चमत्कार, हम करे तो दुर्व्यवहार. Why double standards?
Why double standards?
Why not have the same set of rules for everybody?
This is not a question of double standards. This is a question of a very, very well recognized film star making sure that he is doing something which was meant for those who follow him on the social media channels and those who actually go out and buy the magazine. I think that we are leading into a situation of a country which is rife with hypocrisy
also follow him.
And with hysteria, a combination of hypocrisy and hysteria, which is, and also now clearly whataboutery. If they did this to me and it was not wrong, why is it wrong now, or why is it not wrong now? That isn't the thing. India has moved on. We need to understand that the new generation does not consider any of this either obscene or unacceptable.
Sherlyn,
that's the point.
It shouldn't have happened to you, and it shouldn't happen to Ranveer. If you were treated unfairly,
so sir, is it okay? Is it okay for Ranveer's little?
Yes, sorry, go on.
Just one question I have.
Yes.
I want to know if it's okay for Ranveer Singh's little fans, who are children, to look up to him as an idol.
My sense is that we are objectifying the body.
Sir is saying that it is not a big deal.
There is any reason to make this something that is taboo. Here is a man who is a fine specimen of manhood, and I don't think, in fact, children are among the most innocent creatures. They have nothing against nudity or against exposure or anything of the kind. Please understand that children are innocent and they are not going to be...
Children are also the most vulnerable creatures, sir. They are also the most vulnerable creatures.
I hear you. Yes, certainly there are situations where they are vulnerable, but as long as there is no vulgarity, Here is a person, a well-known actor, who's flaunting what he has managed to create out of his body. And I don't think that objectifying that...
Here is a well-known actor who is flaunting his assets.
I think that, you know, certainly he is flaunting his assets, but in a tasteful and not an inappropriate manner. There is nothing overtly sexual about this. And I think
right, the carpet is very tasteful and so is the background. The lighting is also highly creative.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
But what is the objection? Chandra, if I can just stop you for a second. Let's face it, if we are really concerned about children, let's come to the children part, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
We've got tons of content on Instagram. I have to admit I'm not very savvy, but whatever little I see turning up, first of all, there should be parental controls. We cannot control, and Ranveer Singh cannot control what children see. That's point number one.
Exactly, ma'am.
Point number two, if I just see Instagram influencers who may not be celebs, a lot of them are doing pretty much what Ranveer is doing. But they are not that well known. And I'm assuming children would see that as well. So why is this Ranveer's problem?
Ma'am, we live in a country where most of us look up to stars as idols. We consider them our role models. So when they smoke, we feel like indulging in smoking. When they do drugs, we think, oh, it's cool, no problem. And when they start exposing their bodies in such a manner, we begin to think that it's absolutely okay. It's not a big deal. So the question is it okay to set such standards for the younger India?
You think so, Pratibha Prahlad, that Ranveer Singh should be held to a higher ideal simply because he is a role model?
Padmaja,
or he should make it very clear, ma'am, that
because it's a ridiculous argument and a ridiculous situation. Please let me speak. Please let me speak. Your turn is over. Please let me speak.
Yes, go on, ma'am.
Don't interrupt.
Thank you for making that known to me, ma'am.
Yeah. So what I have to say is that...
Yes, please go on, one by one.
I'm deeply alarmed at the way our society... Padmaja, should I?
Yes, ma'am, please go on.
The question was for me. Yeah, what I'm trying to tell you is that what I'm deeply alarmed about is the fact that all these people have the gumption and the guts to tout regressive viewpoints so confidently, out there in public domain, knowing very well that they may have takers for their own opinions. Because I would feel ashamed to take the autonomy of somebody else's body from him or her. Because Ranveer Singh is a film actor. He's not just, somebody else. He's not an epitome of some, virtues or virtuosity or whatever it is. He's a film actor. He's commerce driven. He wants to be visible. And he's in showbiz, for God's sake. And it's his business to put himself out there and make himself, to be provocative. And be provocative. So he's done that, and he's got every right to do whatever he wants to do, with his body, his time, his money. And if people don't want to watch it, they can block him, they can stop seeing him. And frankly, Padmaja, I had not even seen these pictures, I had not even read the story until Times Now called me. And then I said, what is this about? What is this controversy about? I just have one point to make. India of the ancient times, was very liberal about nudity and nude women and male bodies, male and female bodies. And there are many, many sculptures. You can go to Khajuraho, you can go to Belur, you can go to Halibid, you can go to Rameshwaram temple, you can go to any temple, Konark, and you see beautifully sculpted figurines of apsaras, of women, of men. So it was the British and the foreign invaders that brought in their Victorian morality on us. They kind of and we kept talking about why are we slaves to Victorian morals and Victorian morality, because we have our own deep culture and cultural ethos to fall back on. And in many instances in academia, on stages, we talk about British imposed Victorian morals that hamper our progress in our arts, for example, classical dance, or sculpture or painting. And this argument about a film star posing for nude because he's earning millions, and a magazine that has a aesthetic shoot of this film star being discussed all day long today on social media, on main media.
And especially that is their business. That's a very interesting point. I want to take that back to Sherlyn Chopra. It's quite strange that you yourself are in showbiz, Sherlyn Chopra, and you are objecting to someone posing in this fashion. I mean, tomorrow if we go down this road, tomorrow the same argument will be applied to women should not do item songs. They are setting a bad example for their young fans. Women should not be wearing certain kind of clothes on screen because they're setting a bad example for their fans. Women should not be seen smoking, but they are actors. They're just essaying a role.
Ma'am, the question here is, should nudity be promoted on social media?
But he's not promoting it. He's not saying all of you take off your clothes. He's just saying this is my body.
There are different
I'm a fit guy,
age groups,
and it's okay. I'm not breaking any laws. Milind Soman and Madhu Sapre did it, and they were eventually let go. They were not convicted because they were not breaking laws.
Okay for
he's not going around stripping people. He's just posed himself.
Ma'am, shall we encourage parents to show Ranveer's nude photos to their little children?
That is the parents' responsibility, isn't it? That is the parents' responsibility. There's a world of content.
Are parents brainless? It's their prerogative. Yeah.
Ma'am, all I'm saying is that there is a space for every kind of art. Social media is not the space for nudity.
Okay, then what is the space? Let me get in Naveen Chomal as well, because let's get the legal point of view. What is the space? Right now, we are living in an environment where tons of content is coming at us, and we are strangely looking for censorship. We're saying let's censor this, let's censor social media. Tomorrow we'll say let's censor OTT. Naveen Chomal.
Padmaja ji, yes, thank you Padmaja ji. Let me explain this aspect in a very proper manner. Let me start with the concept of the nudity. Our own country Bharat, we have been accepting the nudity as a art, and every nudity is not vulgarity. That is our concept. As rightly said by one of the panelists, that we have been having sculptures right from Khajuraho and other places also where nudity has been shown, but there is a but. There has been a purpose behind it. So in this context of Ranveer Singh, we have to understand the surrounding circumstances and the concept behind it. So the reason for which Ranveer Singh's nudity is condemnable is because the surrounding circumstances.
Like what?
First of all, there was no purpose behind this. He's done it for his cheap publicity. Kindly appreciate the interview that he has given. Along with that nudity, he has used certain wrong words which are not even worthy of being reproduced here in front of the esteemed viewers. So please appreciate that even our Supreme Court has dissected nudity from vulgarity. But in this case, this nudity is not of any art or any purpose. This is of vulgarity what Ranveer Singh has done.
But what purpose is to be served? His purpose is he's an actor. He does it for self-publicity. I mean, you're saying that it should be nudity for charity, then it's okay.
No.
But if he's doing it for his own self-promotion, it's bad.
Yes, no, kind of. Yes, that is what I'm saying. Had there been any purpose behind the nudity, for example, he is exhibiting a very good body, promoting youth for having a good physique, we can understand that thing. But he could have worn the bare minimum clothes also. But he is posed absolutely nude and no purpose. Look at his surrounding interview with it. Look at the purpose he is given. All dirty words he has used.
Okay,
so
what do you make of this, Dilip Cherian? It is the purpose and the intent which makes it suspect and hurtful.
No, supposing.
When I began, I said that we are a nation that is driving ourselves into a mixture of hypocrisy and hysteria. There needs to be no purpose. The purpose is an art form. The purpose is that it is meant to show that he has been able to sculpt a body which many grown men would weep for and which is attractive for all the sexes. So I don't think that as long as there is no purpose of creating obscenity, it is absolutely valid and it is not vulgar.
And the thing is, a lot of people would argue, what is the purpose of cinema at all then? What is the purpose of music? What is the purpose of fashion or modeling? The thing is, by its very existence, it purposes to entertain and maybe self-promotion in the case of this magazine shoot. That we sit here and discuss it, maybe it's great to have these conversations in an evolving society. But to have someone booked for it, well, let's just face it, like Dilip Cherian said, let's not be on the edge of hysteria and hyperbole and hypocrisy all the time. In the hope that better sense will prevail and this case will be thrown out, thank you very much, both gentlemen, Pratibha Prahlad and Sherlyn Chopra, for joining me. Have a good night.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
3-4 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಗುವಷ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ ನೆಹರು, ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ, ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ. ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬಲಗೊಳಿಸಬೇಕು, ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಶಕ್ತಿ ತುಂಬಬೇಕು, ನೈತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಇವತ್ತು ಆಗಬೇಕು. ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಮನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರು ದೇಶಾದ್ಯಂತ ನನ್ನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನನ್ನ ಗಂಡನ ಪ್ರಾಣ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ, ನನ್ನ ಮಗನ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಅತ್ತೆಯ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ, ನೆಹರು ಮಾಡಿದ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ದೇಶದ ಜನ ನಮ್ಮ ಋಣ ತೀರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಇವತ್ತು ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ತಿಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ 2 ಹೊತ್ತಿನ ಊಟ ಸಾರ್ಥಕ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. 3-4
The News Hour at 10.
Congress holds massive protest as the party's interim chief Sonia Gandhi appears before ED in National Herald case. Rahul Gandhi and many Congress MPs were detained by Delhi police and moved to Kingsway police camp. The death toll due to the consumption of spurious liquor in Gujarat's Botat district has gone up to 28 now. Around 30 people are still undergoing treatment at various government hospitals. Allahabad High Court has rejected bail plea of Ashish Mishra, who is a prime accused in Lakhimpur Kheri violence case. Court says if granted bail, there are chances that he may influence the witnesses. A girl student allegedly died by suicide in Tamil Nadu's Cuddalore district. She became the third class 12 student to die in the state over the past 2 weeks. 5G spectrum auction is underway. Airwaves worth rupees 4.3 lakh crore are on offer. Reliance Jio, Bharti Airtel, Vodafone Idea and Adani Enterprises are participating in the auction.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
The
fact of the matter is, whether it is imported inflation, whether it is tinkering of GST for a longer period, the fact is that the burden is on the common man. And the common man, frankly, doesn't really care about what's happening in the United States or the UK or Russia or Ukraine. They're worried about their day-to-day living and per capita incomes where they are in India. The pressure is as much, magnified on common people in this country than they are abroad. And of course, you have social security systems which exist abroad, which don't exist in India. So I come back to asking you the same question. Is the government really being rather hard-hearted when it looks at these issues? After all, running a country of the kind that India is, with poor middle classes, lower middle classes forming the bulk of the population, do you think the government is doing enough, to cushion the impact on these classes of people?
So let me say that as a policy maker, one has to make various trade-offs. So first of all, let me be clear that the government is fully cognizant of the spike in inflation. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen the measures we have taken, including the Reserve Bank tightening monetary policy. So clearly, the tightening of monetary policy is one response to bringing down inflation. But do remember that this is a trade-off, because if you do tighten monetary policy too fast, too quickly, yes, it will bring down inflation, but then it will slow down growth, it will slow down incomes, and so on and so forth. So there is a balancing act that has to be done. Ultimately, what do we want to do? We want to increase as far as possible the trajectory of welfare and real incomes. And in that context, we have to trade off between growth and inflation. So the trade-off that we are making right now is, rather than tighten so harsh that growth slows down, we are tightening somewhat, but not so much that growth slows down too much. So keeping GDP growth going, create jobs, which is an important question.
You're watching the News Hour at 10.
Rajya Sabha sees continuous sloganeering by opposition members on the 7th day of the monsoon session, leading to disruption in proceedings and adjournments. Rollback GST slogans were raised by joint opposition during question hour in the Rajya Sabha. A high-level meeting was held with regard to the monkeypox in Bihar. Discussions were held about its symptoms, testing and all other details. Man accused of threatening Katrina Kaif and Vicky Kaushal through social media was produced in Bandra court today, where he was sent to a 2-day police custody.
अगर कोई व्यक्ति किसी टीम में खेलता है तो क्या कप्तान बनने की बात मान में नहीं आती है? आप नहीं बनना चाहोगे? पार्टी ने कभी नहीं कहा कि 2.5 साल का कोई फॉर्मूला था या इस प्रकार की कोई बात है, और पार्टी में काम किसको क्या करना ये हाईकमांड तय करते हैं सबसे कंसल्टेशन के बाद, और वो जिम्मेदारियां हम लोग हैं।
माननीय भूपेश बघेल साहब के साथ हूँ ना, मैं TS सीधे साहब की हूँ। मैं संगठन का व्यक्ति हूँ। संगठन का काम है चुनाव लड़वाना, बूथ प्रबंधन करना। चुनाव आते हैं, चुनाव जाते हैं।
powered by Century Ply, आग से बचाए।
The most pressing issue, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
3-4 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಗುವಷ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ ನೆಹರು, ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ, ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're tuned into Times Now. This is News Now Overnight and I'm Poonam Burde. There's lots lined up for you over the next 1 hour, but let's get you started with what's making headlines at 11 p.m. Day after Lok Sabha Speaker suspended 4 Congress MPs for disrupting Parliament, 19 Rajya Sabha MPs suspended today. 7 MPs suspended from TMC alone, but party unfazed says suspension will not silence them. Opposition slams the centre for muzzling people's voice. Chilling rerun of 2009 horror, Bajrang Dal goons gate crash of pub party in Bengaluru, abuses harassment on camera, Chief Minister Bommai assures strict action. Actor Ranveer Singh's nude photo shoot puts him in the dock, faces FIR for hurting sentiments of women. Bollywood comes out in his support. As Sonia faces ED in the National Herald case, Rahul and Congress top brass hit the streets. Arson and violence across India. BJP asks why fear an ED investigation. Another scam trial lands at Partha Chatterjee's doorstep. ED finds incriminating documents of the 2012 TET scam at the TMC minister's residence. Friday off for namaz in 37 state-run Bihar schools. District officers say no government order, just a custom. Even the state government unaware. Third alleged suicide of a class 12 student in Tamil Nadu in less than 1 month. Cuddalore after Kalakurchi and Tiruvallur. Chief Minister Stalin assures action. And 22 years ago, India's braves crushed Pakistan's terror and pushed them back. India remembers their sacrifice and salutes Kargil ke Veer.